Hello and welcome to the second part of our Mothership RPG Let's Play series, in which I'll be putting three wonderful people through hellish situations fictionally until they've decided they haven't had enough and they want to leave and possibly not speak to me ever again in space. I'm joined by the wonderful Philippa War.
Hello.
The unknowable Tom Brewster.
Where am I?
And the incredible Ava Foxford.
Hi there.
So, we're going to have a brief recap on what happened last time on Mothership, and then we'll jump into what's going to be happening this time on Mothership. And actually, on that note, I think, Tom, do you want to start by walking us through what happened so far?
What did happen so far? Well, from Juice's point of view, because this is what I remember, we woke up in a space with a cube. There was we won a competition, and then we got put in a space with a cube, and then Matt left for us to just ramble on our own. No, we got... It's because he's very cleverly hidden the fact that he's walked away. We woke up. There was a message on the wall that said it's time for adventure. We tried to do some adventure. We didn't do it very well. We got trapped in a ship that then went into warp, and all of our brains went a bit silly, and now we've woken up again, Groundhog Day style. And that's all you need to know, really. Like, that's everything. We're fine.
I think the cube lets us talk to the outside world, which is, or at least that seems to be the evidence so far. And we've also got a bunch of downloaded footage of previous people who have attempted whatever the challenge is that we're trying to meet or succeed at, and how they have met their grisly ends. So things are boding very well. Shall we, while you tinker with UI things, shall we reintroduce our characters so people remember who we are? In that case, Oxy, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I am Auxilia Pendragon, of the ridiculous name, the chirpy attitude, the penchant for tea, and quite a lot of fear.
What are your skills? Because you're a scientist, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a scientist. I am great at geology. I've just learnt overnight planetology.
Whoa!
Which is like geology, but bigger. I also am good at scavenging and jury rigging, and I know my way around the computers.
Nice.
So I know things. I don't know anything about the present situation. I am trying to keep it cool.
You've been pretty chill, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, also just constantly saying, let's lean into adventure.
When I'm like trying to run the other way. Towards the exit sign.
You did do a good job of running away. That was the sensible thing to do.
Juice, do you want to talk us through who you are and where you're at on your personal journey through this hell?
Yeah, well, Juice Springsteen. Juice Springsteen from the US of space. Will not keep the voice up for the entirety of the stream, both for the sanity of the viewers and my fellow players. A wannabe Marine that apparently has a good brain, didn't use it very well last time, but is also absolutely useless at combat, which isn't great. But Juice Springsteen originally started with military training and gunnery and art as his skills, and now also has mysticism, which means a change in eyewear. So
Your mystic glasses.
My mystic glasses.
Hi, I'm Juice Springsteen.
Yeah, that's
complete rebound producer.
I'm Juice Springsteen. And it's good motto.
You turned into
It is
the
I,
Doctor from
Juice Springsteen.
Welcome
to the
to
Doctor from
Mysticism
Stargate.
101. Thank you for joining.
Okay. I'm glad that everyone is feeling mystic and excited by exciting things to come ahead.
Wait. We need to introduce Matt Lees.
Of course.
Matt Lees, get out of the way. We want to hear from Matt Lees.
Quite right. Quite right.
Matt Lees, the android currently known as, obviously with a Z, because it's cool. And I am, as I said, an android. I have, I think I have intellect and combat seem to be my strongest skills, which I didn't really demonstrate any of last time. Fear, apparently I'm quite low on the ability to get scared. Again, did not demonstrate that last time. In terms of skills, I have hydroponics, 0G, scavenging, computers, piloting, mathematics, and nothing else. The new ones since last time are like piloting, because I figured we were in the middle of being slammed through space, so that might be a useful thing to invest in at this point. And also, I think scavenging seemed sensible, because that might mean that Oxy, you and I could like team up to build some nonsense, because we are kind of ambling together often.
So we're kind of Voltron MacGyver.
Yeah. And also, because
Ambling free.
In my pocket, I seem to have opera glasses and some half-eaten plastic fruit, so I figured this might help make those useful. So yeah, that's where we're all at. Oh, and I didn't get rid of any of my stress. I decided that was for losers, and so I have some resolve instead. I am absolutely determined to be stressed. Anyway, I think
Right.
that's us.
Yeah. So we've got some different approaches to stress going on here. We're going to see how that all pans out. Importantly, though, before we jump in, Tom, I realised that towards the end of the session last time, did you take an entire bottle of medicinal pills?
Yeah, I took some pills.
I need to know
Few.
exactly how many pills were in that bottle.
It doesn't say, but how many would you think would be in a standard regimented bottle of male enhancement pills? Of course,
50.
Matt, I don't know.
That's a pretty loaded question.
I'm going to quickly go into an incognito tab. How many? I wonder what Jeff Bezos' Amazon says. I'm actually. This is for work purposes. This is for work.
I'm just gonna say, you would usually, for taking painkiller medication, you would take a roll to see if you're now addicted to the substance.
Yes.
And with that, you would roll 1d10, and for if you were rolled, I think you have to roll underneath. If you roll less than the number taken, then you make a body save. So I think I think in this case, basically, I'm going to say that it's not necessarily a brand new packet. So I'm going to say there were 14 of these pills within the pack. And I'm going to say, because they're not actually painkiller medication, I'm going to say you're going to half that. So I think you have to roll. Oh, so
it was only 7. It was only 7. It's fine.
7. Well, it counts. It felt like 7. 14 felt like 7.
Okay.
So I think you're going to have to roll a d10 and get
over 7
or under. I think over 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to get 7 or over.
Okay. 7.
Right. So you are not. Your character is not addicted to male enhancement pills.
Yes!
I'm glad we cleared that up.
It's only a matter of time.
I mean, yeah, give it some time. So, last time you found yourselves on a strange ship with a character called Herb who appeared, who seemed very gentle and friendly. And then you got yourself into a slight pickle in the fact that the faceless, strange automatons that were chasing you began trying to smash their way through the airlock. And you decided it might be an idea to escape. You asked Herb for help to get you out of there immediately, and Herb did, activating the ship's jump drives and sending you into hyper jump immediately. But you were not in cryopods for that, which is generally speaking not a good idea. The side effects of that tend to be odd at best. However, you had plenty of time to think about things before the ship jumped into hyperdrive, because time slows down dramatically, leaving you frazzled, stressed, and leaving Pip in a bit of a panic. The android currently known as Matt Lees literally panicked, finding themselves stuck and failing to identify the difference between reality and fiction, until they awakened, finding themselves in a cryopod and finding themselves surrounded by stuff.
What's going on?
Okay.
After dreaming repeatedly of horrible, horrible things, sorry, it's really quite loud for me as well. Just gonna make that a bit quieter, I think. Give me a second. Let's just pretend that we're still being atmospheric, right? Nobody stop being atmospheric.
Okay.
I mean, I'm having a Calippo.
A space Calippo.
A space
Come on. And I'm having a sponsored by Space Pepsi.
Oh, God.
Favorite space beverage.
All right,
Popsy.
now we're
We have
dealing with
to
space.
Off-brand.
So these things that you'd seen lots of different deaths on these recordings that have been taken from other people who'd found themselves in a situation much like yours. But some of the ones that frightened you the most were the ones that took place on the ship that you're currently on, or at least a ship that looks exactly like it. And these creatures you couldn't make out. They were a mess of claws, and the actual kind of majority of the body of these creatures was completely blurred and pixelated out in the footage that was available on these computers. You managed, while scanning through this data, to extrapolate something. You can kind of start to see the edges around the claws, seeing some mandibles, seeing some of the kind of edges of these limbs that these creatures had. You know they have 6 clawed limbs, but the actual makeup of the body itself is just completely invisible. It's just completely blocked out. And unfortunately, you find yourself waking up, Pip, in cryosleep, from cryosleep, coming around, unable to move your body as your systems come back online, as one of these creatures that you'd been fixated on is smashing its way through the glass into the pod that you are in.
Might this be fictional? Could I? How is my hoping stat?
Roll for fiction.
Your limbs are starting to come to life now.
Oh.
It's going to be a few seconds before before the thing is cracked through the hardened glass, which is currently defrosting.
Okay, so let's see if I have anything to hand. Okay, so I'm guessing I'm in a very enclosed space.
You're within the cryopod. As far as you're aware, well, if you're a human, then you'd be coming to and you'd be groggy. However, as an android, your systems are rebooting, but you're going to reboot quite quickly. You're very much aware of the fact that you are not kind of you're in the same clothing as you were before, but you clearly don't have things with you. You are kind of within the cryopods. There's kind of slots for hands and stuff to kind of keep working on the. Basically, these pods kind of have systems where they will kind of like keep working on muscles every now and then. So you're kind of attached to lots of things, but they're slipping off now. There is basically, this model of, it's a fairly standardized model of cryopod, and there is an emergency kind of door open button on the inside in case of, well, not in case of events like this, but in case of any failures or problems.
Okay. so I don't have anything that I would have had before. For example, my crowbar, my really handy crowbar that I could be doing something with right now. Okay. Curses. Okay, I'm gonna scream very loudly in case the other two are nearby.
Well,
Hang on a
I'm afraid that for now, I'm afraid that for now the other two aren't nearby. I'm actually going to press the button and their faces have disappeared, and it's just me and you for now, Pip.
Oh no. Oh, okay. I am going to. Can I just press the button and try and escape somehow? Like,
can
I
indeed.
feel like. Oh wait, if it hasn't come through the glass yet, I would like to try and use my android brain and my lack of fear to scan to see if there's like any like possible routes that I could take out of this.
Okay, yeah, sure. You can't really come up with anything quickly enough. Like the creature outside seems to almost react, realizing that you're kind of coming to and about to try and do something, and begins to kind of like redouble its efforts to be cracking through, hitting going for the same point again and again to try and weaken this crack, which is
Right.
getting larger and becoming a hole with its mandibles just bashing away here. The things you realize is quite simply at this point, your best chance at this point is to slam the button which is going to release the catch, and then with as much force as you can either push it out of the way in the hope of escaping, or really just throw your force into it in the hope of knocking it back.
I am going to punch it in the mandible.
Okay, you're going to punch it in the mandible.
One of the mandibles.
So is this you waiting for the mandibles to come through the hole?
So
Or...
what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna punch the button to let me out, because hopefully that will catch it slightly off guard. So like you know, when it's recoiling, I'm gonna smack the thing, and then I am just going to punch the nearest mandible incredibly hard.
Great stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna have you roll me a strength check, please.
Okay, and that is D100 or strength. So 63.
63. So is
Yes. My strength is 32.
So that's not a terribly great success, is it?
It's not amazing. I feel like I might have definitely flicked it at the very least.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that the first check you did there, that strength check, was not actually about smashing the mandibles, because that wasn't quite accurate. That should really be a combat check. So I'm going to say that first check was a pretty pointless check to see if you could hit the button to release the thing in a way that might be intimidating to the creature. And unfortunately, you didn't. You did that thing where you were like, you meant to do it.
And then...
Yeah. Well, you meant to do it like a cool Hollywood hero going bang, like you know, like your Ripley in Aliens. But actually, yeah, WWJD. That's of course what it stands for. But it's just you just don't look that cool. You don't feel that cool. But it's not a problem. I'm not going to give you stress for it or anything like that. But now I'd like you to make me a combat check.
Okay, let's see. My combat is 44 for folks who are interested. And I have rolled a 23.
Ooh,
yeah!
Fantastic. 23.
Take that, kapow, I say.
And now I
Very
would
cool.
like... this is actually an opposed roll, so I'd like you to make a... I'd like you to make an armor roll, Tom.
Me?
Yeah.
Where am I?
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh dear.
Of all the times to be good as...
Hey, I got
He's
0.
going to have a mandible problem.
You rolled 0.
I rolled 0, 0, 0.
That's a critical success.
It's a critical 0.
presumably.
It is a critical success. Okay, well then, yeah. Tom, you awoke out of sleep about 10 minutes ago. You're feeling still quite groggy, but you could tell you went over to start deactivating the other pods. Orcsy, you've also been awoken already. The android was the last person to be let out of cryosleep, and immediately upon opening the door, they lash out at you wildly. However, your marine training kicks in, and you easily evade the dodge. Easily evade the attack, even though you are incredibly confused by it. Looking behind you to realise that the series of steps leading down from the cryopod would have been quite a nasty fall should the attack have landed as intended.
Oh boy.
Moments later than this, in the confusion, Pip, you come around and your eyes basically just immediately start presenting a different reality. It's just click, and suddenly it's like everything's gone, and it's just you are in this space.
Okay.
Called
This is awkward.
space.
So slow.
Yo, what the hell? Do that to your old pal Juice. After all we've been through.
I don't know. I figure I'm still a bit suspicious that you might secretly be the mandible monster at this point, because I don't know.
That's a very
Tell me
reasonable
something
assumption.
only Juice would know.
Oh yeah. Well, I do now know a lot about God. Wait, hold on.
Wait, what?
I didn't even know what mysticism
That
is.
doesn't sound like something Juice would know from before.
It's definitely not reassuring. You had mandibles a minute ago, and now you're saying you know God.
I've changed.
Oh no. What's happened to your glasses? These are the mirror is that what I look like, or is it just eyes?
I'm Juice version 2. I've improved. I've leveled up, if you will, between.
Oh, so you're an android like me?
Yeah, absolutely. God, what a twist! That,
oh wow.
Juice Springsteen this whole time was an android programmed to be as similar to the boss. Wait, is Bruce Springsteen, was he the boss? Was that the name?
Bruce Springsteen is the boss. Yeah,
The boss, yeah.
definitely
Okay.
the boss.
Like a sort of Chuck E.
What were you gonna
Cheese.
say? Middle manager.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna treat that conversation about real world things as being out of character.
Okay.
As a
Good.
as a treat for you. I'm not going to start making you roll stress die straight away. So, anyway, you come around and you look around you, and you are in a cryo sleep bay. There are 3 pods within this room. I've focused on a little map now, and I will send to you. I forgot about this, but I can do it quite easily. Send to you 3 folks a little thing showing you what the deal is with where you are.
Thank you.
You've got some cryopods, you've got some apparatus behind them. There's a whole bunch of wires and thick cabling going into these sort of large cooling agents. It's a bit of an old-fashioned setup, to be honest. It's not state-of-the-art. It's very chunky, very large stuff. Lots of different cooling cells, lots of different things that could go wrong in the different locations. But also a bunch of monitoring stations. A lot of it seems relatively automated. It's a strange combination of tech here, because a lot of it looks kind of old-fashioned, more manual, well, as manual as this sort of stuff ever was, where in reality some of the stuff it's linked up to you don't recognize, and there aren't that many things that you would expect to see, like levers and button panels. It's weirdly flat and featureless for something that looks like it should have lots more of an interface. At this point, Herb walks into the room and walks up to the 3 of you. Says, "Greeting, masters. I trust you all had a pleasant rest."
Yeah.
What? Not what I would call
Mr.
it,
Juice.
but yeah.
Mr. Juice.
Yeah, thanks.
How was your sleep? I trust you're not struggling too much with the side effects.
Oh no, what's happened? I don't... Help me, Herb. What's going on?
I'm
so
concerned.
confused.
I'm concerned. I believe we must get this man to... He seems to have lost the ability to speak. This may be a serious issue.
Where's my crowbar and my pear?
Ah, yes,
Herb!
of course. Mr. Lees, all of your effects are over here. Motions across to the edge of this room, basically. You can see there's kind of there's a whole bunch of stuff here, but you can see that, like, basically this room is 3 different kind of sections, concentric. I'm going to send you a little bigger thing in one moment, but basically, yeah, you've got a whole bunch of different apparatus all linking up to these 3 cryopods. You're now kind of in the middle of this room, but Oxy, you woke up on the far left side, and Juice, you woke up on the far right-hand side of this staggered room. And Herb had come through from the kind of left-hand side. I'm getting a bit carried away with maps now. Apologies for that. What was the question? Where's your crowbar? Where's me crowbar? On the far side of the room, motions to a series of cabinets, some basic lockers, effectively, and they're still open. But all of your things have been kind of carefully put within these 3 lockers. It's the sort of place where usually you would have, you'd leave your change of clothes hanging up, and you basically, like, you would swap it for some of the apparatus and clothing that you would wear when entering cryosleep, which you're not wearing. You are just wearing the normal clothes. Herb then explains that there was a bit of an issue. We entered hyperspeed maybe a little quicker than you might have anticipated. So I took the liberty of carefully placing you all within cryosleep during the jump. So it's not a perfect situation. There are a few anomalies, as far as I can tell. Then Herb basically motions over to a desk near the lockers and just sort of gently kind of pushes a kind of computer monitor off the edge of the desk. At which point, it doesn't fall. It's just floating. And then he just sort of pushes it back onto the desk.
Herb,
and it just
you
sort of
saying
like...
you broke gravity?
I don't believe it's necessarily true that... I think we broke gravity, but it's
All right.
It's probably only temporary and probably localized to this area. Herb then begins to just sort of go on a bit of a monologue talking about space-time and gravity and explaining the fact that actually this isn't actually anything to do with gravity. And I think Ava, Oxy can continue to follow this along a little bit, but the other 2 of you are pretty unable to keep up with the concepts being talked about. It's pretty hard science in terms of it being like it's something to do with perception and the crossover between perception and reality, and the fact that because you were conscious at a point of time where you shouldn't have been, reality has sort of adapted around you to try and make sense of that. And it's kind of some pretty odd level quantum stuff that is to do with the nature of long distance space travel and faster than light travel, basically breaking the rules of reality in a way that means the universe has to kind of like catch up in a way. It's sort of a cheat code system.
So you're saying you didn't break gravity, you broke reality. We and you putting that on us.
Well, yes,
That's us.
we may have broken reality, but then we break reality every time we use a hyperdrive system. I'm always telling people this, and people don't seem to take it very seriously. But yes, so it's just in this instance, reality is slightly aware that it's been broken. But I mean, it always tends to heal itself up in time.
I've realised I'm holding my hand up like it's school.
It still works. It's a system that I can see, so it still works.
Well, I was just going to say to Oxy, if you'll allow me, I am an expert in 0G, and I will go over and I will kick the thing that is hovering in the air and see what happens.
The computer monitor.
Yes.
It's a computer monitor.
Yes.
All right. Can you roll a body check for me, please?
Kick it right in the mandible.
So my body check is... my body stat is 40, and I have rolled a 30. Yes!
Okay. Yeah. Well, you successfully managed to hoof this monitor in the best way that you can. You do smash it up a bit, to be honest. It's not... You're not really sure what it did, but whatever it was showing, it's not really showing anymore. However, you haven't done any major damage to your foot or leg. If you were a human, your foot would probably be sore, and you're aware that now possibly the servos and exterior plating on your foot may need a little bit more work next time you have a tune-up. You're not entirely sure why you did that, but you certainly did that. Herb looks at you in a similar regard, particularly actually perplexed, and begins to walk over to you and sort of starts to inspect a few areas on your upper neck and the side of your head. And you know that the reason that somebody would inspect these is because this would be maybe some of the areas where you might look to see some leaking of important fluids in an android. So Herb clearly has an understanding of androids.
I'm going to shout, "I'm fine," and then leave the conversation to the other two.
Back off, Herb. There's no need to go poking around someone's neck. You broke reality. Matt Lees just broke a TV. What's wrong with that?
So the android, currently known as Matt Lees, storms off, having shouted, walking off down a corridor towards the north, and we'll catch up with you in a moment, Pip. Juice, Orksy.
Yes.
You got anything you'd like to do at this point?
I want to ask Herb where we are. Like, we asked to go somewhere. Have we gone somewhere? Is this
a pertinent question? A pertinent question. We have indeed gone somewhere. And yes, this is still the very same ship. I actually dragged you around the corridor. It's about a 70-foot drag from here to there.
Do you feel like I've been dragged 70 feet? I have to say.
I mean, I think that waking up from cryo sleep and being dragged 70 feet by someone are kind of in a similar wheelhouse. Yeah. I think it's a particularly rough hangover, I think, and not necessarily in 100% physical. The headache tends to fade away very quickly, but the kind of low-key ache and vague existential dread seems to hang around a little longer than you'd like. Although that may have also been the fact that you were almost murdered and left trapped in hyperspace. It's been a weird day. Herb basically just explains that you are in a different place in space and is a little bit evasive about where. They're not very clear about that at this point. They keep making it clear that, like, we did actually, to be fair, they're saying you did a fabulous job from escaping certain death back there. I guess we'd better get on with some form of adventure, wouldn't you say? Meanwhile, Pip, you've turned around. You've turned a couple of corners now. The corridors in this ship are rather unusual. You feel like now you've been walking in a kind of strange zigzag pattern for some time, and you're finally now finding a long corridor which appears to come to what appears to be an engine, a giant humming, terrifying, really, warp engine, which seems intensely unstable. And as you get closer, you realize that the shielding around this warp core is actually on the verge of collapsing.
As an expert in zero G,
Are you going to kick it?
maybe I shouldn't kick it. I will try and use my computer's skill to. Would computers be for this, or is it more like mechanical?
There is a computer console in front of it,
Okay.
yeah, which you could use
Don't
to
kick
assess.
Don't kick it. It's not what that skill's for.
I will, as a first resort, I will access the computer terminal and try and learn something.
Yes.
Okay.
Learn
Okay.
first. Kick
Could you
second.
roll me a what sort of thing are you going to try and identify about this warp core?
Well, it doesn't seem that it's a good thing that it's on the verge of collapse, so I guess I want to try and find out how it connects to the ship, because if it is maintaining, like, core systems, that is a thing that we should know. But if it's just, like, for the, like, drinks dispenser, then, I mean, it's less of
Okay.
less of a pressing issue.
Oh no, this is a pretty substantial thing. Something of this size would absolutely be what powered the warp cores of a ship of.
You've seen how much tea Oxy gets through.
I am
might be
probably
lot of
looking
good
at
point.
that again.
It's a
I
good
guess,
point.
yeah,
I mean, this
but
is.
I think I just want to know about, like, the. I guess know about the system. Know what's at risk if it
Yes,
goes.
of course.
That kind of thing.
Could you roll me a computers check?
My computer's check is I got 68. What would that be? That would be intellect.
So I think
guess.
it would be intellect plus however much of a percentage you get from your computer
so it's
skill.
10%. I've got intellect of 40, so that would have been 50 that I was trying.
Okay,
to
so you didn't.
that. I did not.
You didn't quite make it. Then you didn't quite make it. So what happens in this instance is Juice and Orksy, you turn around to see Matt Lee stood in the corner of the room, tapping on a wall quite insistently,
No.
just quite fixated, looking confused and worried. Whereas Matt Lees, the android known as Matt Lees, you are alarmed to discover that the this warp system is made of cardboard. It's quite clear. It's coming up on the screen. Cardboard detected. And you're puzzling and you're looking through the system and trying to work out how it can be that this thrumming core is made of cardboard. Of course, that would explain why there's some problems with containment. But at the same time, you're starting to realize it doesn't quite make sense. And at that point, you find yourself facing a wall. And Herb is there tapping you on the shoulder saying, Master Lees, might I suggest you spend a little more time lying down? There was a reason I didn't wake you from hypersleep quite as quickly. Some mild diagnostic problems suggest a little bit of your current programming may be slightly frayed.
Okay. I'm starting to maybe agree with that as a diagnosis. Could I do any, like, could either me or maybe Oxy as a scientist, like, do that repair work, or do that, like, do a reboot, or, like, some kind of thing that might help this not be the case?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got within this room, actually, there's a pretty basic kind of a basic tool set in the corner. You recognize the label on the box as being a kind of fairly, again, a bit antiquated, but one of those, the equivalent of a Stanley Max brand of tools, which are used for just general machinery and general kind of like fine-tuning machinery. And you recognize that as being a tool set which you could probably use to be doing some minor diagnostics. And you feel, yeah, okay. Like, so if you want to work out what stats you're going to use and how you're going to collectively do this, then I'll let you know what's going to happen.
Juice rolls for encouragement.
I mean, I've got some.
I think I'm going to say this. I think I'm going to say this requires more than encouragement.
Okay.
It's going to require. I'll accept computers.
Yeah,
And-
I've got some computers knowledge. I'm not exactly an AI expert by any means, but I've run a diagnostic or two in my lifetime, so I'm happy to give you the once over if that's not rude. Feels rude to suggest.
I am asking.
Are you
for,
happy? Okay,
for
cool,
this,
cool.
So
Well,
please,
let's
there
step
is-
over to here, and we'll. Do you want to plug it in yourself? I'll have a look
Yeah,
and see
I'll
what
do
we can figure out.
I'll do the basics, and then I think it's best if I don't do any of the taking the readings, because my sensory inputs are not to be trusted. And maybe Juice, if you could be on standby just in case I start thrashing about or anything. Like I don't know how this process is gonna go because I don't know what's wrong with me.
I mean,
I'll have my gunnery skill at the ready.
During the process of this, Herb sees what you're doing and basically offers to assist in the fact that Herb is like, you may not be aware at this point. I apologize if I've not made it clear, but I am actually an android system of sorts myself. As part of this, I may be able to, and they basically suggest a system that would allow you to cross-reference their ocular and audio data with yours via some sort of wireless link, effectively just as a means of whenever you're alert, whenever you're like kind of your space hackles get up and you think something's going wrong, that will trigger a kind of quick test and a cross-reference to basically give you a little secondary reality check. It's up to you whether or not you want to take them up on this, because it would involve, as part of this thing, basically setting up a kind of wireless link, which would be, it's not software, it would require a little hardware there.
This is how you get Trojan horses.
It is. It's a Trojan horse in your neck, maybe.
That's totally your call, Matt Lees.
I was going to say, but I don't trust any of my senses.
I'll be back in 1 second to get some water. Have a think.
They said don't just randomly hook up your computers to random strangers, especially not in
That's
creepy
rule number
situations in
one of
space.
computers.
On the other hand, it sounds like quite a useful idea. Do you reckon we'd be Herb? Do you reckon instead of hooking into you, do you reckon we'd be able to hook into the cube? That sounds dangerous too.
Oh, I wonder if
no,
the
that
cube is
sounds
still
dangerous
here.
too.
I don't know if the cube's still here.
We haven't seen the
We'll
cube at
find
this
out
point.
in a moment, I'm sure.
It's your call. It's your call, Matt Lees. Like, I'm up for doing like a quick once over. I can't say I'll know for certain. Obviously, we can rely on Juice if there's any like mystical, paradoxical quandaries going on that's causing an interruption. I don't think that's how it works, but you know.
So I figure maybe Oxy, if you could like do what you can do, and then maybe hopefully that will sort it, or that will like at least identify the problem.
Yeah.
And then if that's not good enough, maybe we vote on trying.
Juice is just gonna take. You're a savior. Oh my god.
Trying to like.
Juice has got ice cream. And some vanish and oxy-action crystal white.
Don't drink it. Don't neck it.
I'll try my best.
It's like for the sprinklings.
Oh.
Yeah, like maybe if that doesn't work, then we can vote on how much of a risk you think Herb is, and if it goes wrong, Juice, you could just like punch him in the mandibles.
I'm busy.
Oh.
Is Juice eating a yogurt?
It's some sorbet.
Furious.
Nice.
Furious.
I'm furious as well. I've got a cold drink, but that's not sorbet.
I've only got water.
It's quite good.
Quite
very good sorbet.
What flavour?
Mango? No. I can't tell. One of them's lemon. I don't know what the other one is.
Oh,
My partner just came in
Right.
and gave me a whole thing of sorbet.
I can't
That is
believe-
good. That is good partnering. That is good partnering.
Professional.
So, Herb, just to catch you up on things, Orcsy is going to do essentially like a systems check to the best of their ability, and
Mhm.
then if that doesn't work, we're gonna have a think maybe.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So, Orcsy, I think I'm going to have you make the roll for this. What have you decided?
Yep.
Do you think you can roll this as?
Computers is my best shot.
All right.
Whether that's related enough.
What is
to
a robot
artificial
but a
intelligence.
computer of sort?
Basically, just a very fancy computer and a person that we respect the humanity of, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Robots are people too.
Robots and people too.
Until you
I'm trying to be
switch them
good- I'm
off.
trying to be good about this stuff, whilst also aware that I've just asked you to like plug into some network. Right. So diagnostic. 49 plus 10 is 59, and 37 is lower than 59.
Yeah. That is
Juice
a
Springsteen goes,
success.
I'm helping.
You basically work out a way of doing something. Actually, in a way, like Herb's suggestion was kind of useful, because when you start looking through the resources available to you on the kind of basic level Android login page, beep, 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 eyes/vision/ what can I see.exe, you basically realize that there are some auxiliary systems here that aren't kind of linked up to the main systems in a way which is quite useful. So the whole perception systems that are going into like the databases and to the kind of what we would describe as reality. These secondary systems aren't wired up in the same way, and they're there as a complete backup, basically, in case of destruction of the head, effectively, where a lot of these... It's pretty dumb, actually. Like, you know, androids are built to look like humans, but it's kind of a stupid system because heads aren't actually that big, and you have to put quite a lot of detailed, careful systems within this small space. They're generally expensive. Cheaper androids have massive heads. So because of this, basically, you use it as a secondary system. You kind of wire it up to be used more frequently, and you basically come up with a similar system of whenever it trips to do with a high stress level, it will basically just do a very quick run through of both things, and it basically does the JPEG test. It just looks at all the ones and zeros and goes like, is the data we've got here on a perception level the same to enough of a degree as the perception data coming in from secondary? So the only thing you're going to notice here actually is your vision, basically, there's a side effect to this in the fact that until you can switch this system off, and you're not entirely sure how long it's going to last for, but you can check periodically. But until you can switch this system off, there are going to be periods in which your senses become a little bit dulled. So, you know, there'll be patches whereby, you know, it's basically like streaming. You might have patches where the resolution just goes a bit potato-y for a little while. But it won't be so bad that you won't be able to function, and it's arguably going to be a lot better than not being able to tell the difference between reality and fiction. So that's a good success, team. I think that's great.
Hey.
Well done.
Thank you.
And yeah,
All right.
particularly good to have done that whilst you were a bit fuzzy, Orcsy, trying to shake off both the effects of hyperspace and cryo sleep, and also just trying to shake the gnawing weirdness in your head that came about throughout this whole thing. Juice, what are you going to be doing whilst this thing is happening?
I've been eating ice cream the whole time. I don't know where I found it.
Okay.
But it's blimmin' delicious.
Yeah, okay, You've been eating ice cream. There was some ice cream
And
on
while
the side.
the
Herb
process
obviously-
is happening as well, I lean down next to Herb because Herb was helping, although, right? Or was
I think Herb was
Yeah, well,
watching.
no, Herb offered to help, but they didn't
offered to
really want help.
so
Yeah.
just so that I make sure that Herb feels included, I lean down and I go, Herb, do you know where I can get any more of these? And I show him some little pills that I had, Just the last couple that I had stashed away.
Ah,
I love that you're not addicted to these pills, but your first instinct is to go and try some more.
He can stop whenever he wants.
Yeah.
He just doesn't want to stop. Okay, so yes, sir. I don't believe we have any on board, but they are quite a common brand, I believe. Let me just have a quick look through my catalogue. Yes, a more modern brand, not one that we're so interested in, but I'm sure there'll be some availability. I hope you're enjoying the ice cream, though, a classic flavour.
I don't remember what flavor it was. It was very tasty. Tastes like
I believe it was
victory.
Raspberry Ripple.
What's a raspberry?
You ask Herb what a raspberry is, and he stares at you quite intently for a moment, and then says, "Well, never mind. Nothing to be alarmed about. So, I guess we'd better start making a think about working out where we're going to go." And then Herb basically encourages to take you on a a small tour around the ship that he keeps describing as your ship, which I believe is called the SS Sugar Bus.
Yes,
The Sugar Bus, you
bus is
believe.
gone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, actually...
Oh, no, this is a trap, isn't it? So that we're going to start
you all
going a
just
bit more delirious.
Could you all just make a sanity save, please?
Not the old classic Sugar Babe sanity save.
Every time I listen to the Sugar Babes, I have to take a sanity save.
Forgot what thing I was rolling for.
Ooh.
I
Yeah.
have failed that.
85 on me.
Succeeded by the tiniest margin.
Sugar
39
Babes!
under 40.
Okay. Well then, everybody, Orcsy, you experience this with a slight sense of uncanny weirdness, but not anything alarming. Tom and Pip, you encounter this in a way which is stressful immediately and actually kind of reminds you of the sensation that was going on when you first entered this ship, and you'd kind of forgotten about that with all the other stuff going on. But you're aware that this spaceship, in rather unlikely terms, is named after a portmanteau of sorts between the Sugar Babes and the Venga Bus. And you're quite aware of this. That is why your spaceship is called the Sugar Bus. However, immediately when you start scratching away at that, you've got no idea how you would know about either of these things. They're pop culture references from around the 21st century. And that was a very long time ago. And music of that era is largely... It's not really a thing anymore.
I wonder why.
Really no, there's a band called the Beatles 4, which is still very popular, but apart from that, no one's asked. So, yeah, and you just have a very strong sensation in the back of your mind that you like to party. Okay, let's go on a little tour of a little thing I like to call your spaceship. So... It's
a great song by the Beatles 4.
It was. I think
This
after
tour
the Beatles
sounds
3,
positively delightful.
they did a lot of interesting stuff with the material. Okay, so here we have I've switched over to the big map screen so we can have a look at the big map, and yeah, we've basically got a nice big spaceship. Oh boy, oh what a spaceship! Do 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 do. Have you ever seen a spaceship before? Do you know what a spaceship is? What a lovely spaceship! Oh, what a spaceship! Okay, that's your spaceship. This is your spaceship. I'm sending you a picture of the spaceship, which is now your spaceship.
It's ours.
It's a big spaceship. How did we get such a big spaceship? Is this better than the money that we won that we've lost?
This is the money. in spaceship
Oh, maybe,
form.
yeah.
Juice, did you buy a spaceship with my money?
I ain't saying nothing. And look,
Oh my god!
here's the thing.
Who is this guy?
I may
Well,
have bought the spaceship, but I didn't hire Herb. That was someone else.
we should definitely have a little look around, though. You know, in case there's any buttons to push, or we should go round.
Maybe
we
right
should
round.
see if there's anything that might overload.
Oh no!
Anything that might make us stronger. Anything dangerous that might cause one to get a hole in the head. But that's enough about me. It's about you now. Am I just not helping at this point?
I mean, I believe that's 7 sanity checks.
I'll just be over here in my red dress.
Okay. Tom, can I ask you, what are your what sort of mysticism is your mysticism specializing in? Sorry, Juice. Apologies.
I mean, maybe it's to do with the occult. Juice seems kind of interested in that kind of thing.
But what kind of occult?
What? I don't really know.
Are we talking like? I mean, I guess the options would be like roughly like. Is it going to be like occult history? Is it going to be like human occult stuff? Is it going to be kind of like common base level occult stuff for like alien species, or is it going to be some like weird outer rim stuff where you've got a little bit more specialist knowledge about? Well, I'm just interested. Like, this isn't going to affect things massively. You're
just interested. Well, maybe I just know an awful lot about the Sugar Babes.
I'm not sure the Sugar Babes are a cult.
Well, one might say that.
You say that.
But it all depends how you read it.
I mean, like, they are gradually recruiting every, like, woman identifying in the land to be part of their gang over time.
The angel with a dirty face is a like common symbol throughout.
Okay. Well, we'll say then that you have you've got
this goof has
you've
gone
got
too
a lot of
far.
knowledge about the occult, especially with a view to like cult behavior and cult followings.
Yes.
And
sure.
Kind of like quasi stuff, like to do with like partially stuff that wasn't actually real or magical, but was based on like kind of like. And we'll say that in history there have been girl bands that have run cults that have done terrible things.
Yes. Just like
that's kind of the basis of what you're going on. But I mean, it's also worth bearing in mind that you've gained this knowledge as part of your leveling up whilst you were in cryosleep after going through hyperspace in a wrong way. So it may be that your knowledge is not necessarily 100%
correct,
real, or correct.
In which case, is it knowledge at all? Maybe a too philosophical question.
Actually, as you're thinking about your newfound knowledge of the occult, you hear a voice in your head that says, "All shall join the Sugar Babes or be destroyed." And you're not sure what that's about. But anyway, you're given a little tour of the ship, and I'm just going to give you. I've sent you a little image of it on Discord, and then I'm going to just bring it up as a main map on the ship so you can see what it is. So what we have here is a big old. This should be smaller than that. What have I done? Okay, I'm gonna have to change this thing. 1 second. At the bottom left-hand side of this image, you've got the ship's thrusters, effectively, a triple system, and then you have you walk down the corridor around past the area which is the living area, basically the crew zone, where you live. There are some little bedrooms and some toilets and some showers and all the stuff that you might expect to see in a place where you might ostensibly live for a little while. There's also a nice little table area looking out of a little well, actually it's kind of odd where there would be you're shown around this kind of lounge area, and where you might expect in a ship normally there to be some sort of viewing panel, whether it was glass or VR or a reinforced kind of force field, you would usually be able to maybe see out into space, would be the common thing. But here it's just a big framed picture of a nice landscape, which is a bit antiquated and odd. It's like you're in a living room of a kindly aunt, but in space. Next on your tour, you walk further down the corridor to a kind of half hexagon shaped room, which is definitely the barracks. And now it is more familiar. This area is where you were before. This area up to the top middle area of the map. This was where you were scrambling around. There's a large cage full of weaponry that actually, I believe you'd kind of bashed your way into that before. And then there's some lockers with some equipment, some EVA suits. And yes, the things you found before, you recognize the spot where you grabbed the crowbar from. Going round again, you see down the long corridor, which had a system that Juice was aware at the time was a weapons control pod. And also you have you come up to the galley area, which you were in before, and you made yourself a cup of tea. The cup of tea actually, weirdly, is now cold, and now also like floats in midair. It's clearly that the initial force of what was happening knocked it off the table, but it never hit the ground. It's just sort of like about 1.5 feet off the ground. And there's a bit of a mess everywhere, to be honest. Like there's basically cold tea, just globules of cold tea, just sort of like very gently creeping along the floor and around the edge of the walls as the momentum just continues to do its work very, very gently and sadly. Herb apologizes for that mess and says, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry. We'll move on from that in a moment." Then next you come on to a T-junction leading you through to where the main computing rooms are. There's 5 very large computers here which are plugged into the systems, most of which are being used to control the hyper drives, the warp drives, which are in these 2 very large reinforced 5-sided things, and they have a kind of a delightful purple glow. And they're wired into all sorts of cooling systems. And with this, you can jump through space a considerable amount of distance here. It's not going to be like a dramatic, like go across the other side of the universe, but you can make quite long jumps in this, providing you have the time and the inclination. In the middle of the ship, there is a laboratory, a science lab, which has all sorts of things you'd expect. You've got some cool big jars that you can put samples in to look at stuff. You've got like a cool big jar that you could put in like, I don't know, like a person. And then you've got another section which you look at and is clearly supposed to be a decontamination zone. One side of the lab basically just has doors that lead straight in and out of it, and there's no decontamination options there. But those ones look like they're not used as commonly, or not supposed to be used as commonly. That's what you would notice, Oxy. You'd be like, well, obviously, if you're doing any experiments, you would lock those off and just use this kind of decontamination zone. But this decontamination zone, which you can see on the bottom right-hand side of the room, which is just 2 little walls leading in with a corridor, that's also going to be useful just as a holding area, really. It's effectively, you would recognize, Juice, from your experience in the military, that those systems basically, in a pinch, would act as an effective jail cell. It would just also stop you from being able to get around the ship as easily in the event of there being problems. Lastly, you come around to the bottom and you have a cargo room, which has not a lot of stuff in here. You've got about a month's worth of food supplies in there, which is not bad. Actually, you've got slightly more than that because one of you's an android, so you don't have to feed an android in the same way. However, there's a decent actually amount of android food. In fact, the android currently known as Matt Lees. Would you like to explain to me what android food is?
Android food is.
Or the Android food that you have, anyway.
I mean, I've got all manner of things on me at this point.
Plastic pears.
I think that my body is like it's not metallic or anything, so there would be a certain amount of just needing to keep cell cultures alive, or sort of, skin and whatever else. So I would assume that it's more like a kind of a nutrient set that I just need to maintain in a particular, I was going to say orifice, but like, kind of an ampoule kind of system that will then just distribute over the surface of my
Cool.
skin covering.
Cool. Oh, there's a bunch of that.
Suitably grim.
Yeah, as you're looking at this, you kind of you basically you're having a conversation about this, and unfortunately revealing Juice Springsteen to be a little bit culturally unaware of androids, and sort of saying, "Oh, what are you going to eat?" And you're explaining this to Juice and pointing out and saying, "Hey, look, this is the stuff." And whilst you're doing this, though, both of you independently find yourself having things whispered into the back of your head as things that androids might eat, such as gear flakes, Gyrios, data chips and sauce, and microchips and micro salsa. So slightly disconcerting and kind of almost gets in the way of you having a conversation. And if you had any idea that you were both receiving these same thoughts at the same time, it would probably be quite alarming. So for now, we're going to say that we're not going to have that conversation. Within this room, though, you've got some supplies. You also have a very large, completely sealed box, which you can't even see a way to open, frankly. And then you have a strange, tall canister, which appears to be full of these green, they look like rubber balls, basically. And it appears to be a kind of dispenser of sorts that just dispenses these green rubber balls that are about 2 inches diameter-wise.
Okay.
Is there an
And
obvious way
yes.
to get them to dispense?
Yeah, no, there is. It's a kind of it's a very simple mechanism. It's literally just like one of those old school twister thing on the machine and get a toy, like when you get a capsule toy.
Well,
I think we should do that.
I think we should do it though. Do a little bit of
Are you gonna-
bit of a twisty, bit of a gachapon kind of thing going on here.
Go
Okay,
on.
so you give that a twist, and you go to give it a twist, and basically, it won't turn. And also, I think I'm going to ask you to make a body save.
Oh no. This will be a very emasculating moment for Juice Springsteen. It'd be like, this big macho man can't open, like, a jar or something like that. Yeah, he fails. Dramatically on the body save.
Okay. Okay. All right, Juice. You've taken 3 damage.
What?
So
sprained
yeah,
my wrist.
It's electrocuted to a degree. It's funny. It didn't start to be, but as soon as you started turning it, it electrocuted you.
It doesn't want us to have the forbidden green pudding. Okay.
Can I ask Oxy, can you see a green blob dispenser? I need a sort of sensory check right now because I don't know. Yeah. I don't want to just be like trying to twist someone's ear off or something.
I inspect the green blob dispenser. Is it a green blob dispenser?
That
Yeah, you can see it. You can all
I
see
can
it.
see it. That's fine. It is there.
Okay.
It is
It's
there.
real.
It's
Yeah,
real.
that-
It's real.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. It's
That
real.
looks like a real green blob. That looks like
Right.
a real green blob thing. Don't
Matt going
worry.
like, "Oh, don't worry, it's
worry. Oh,
real.
God.
Like everything hasn't been completely not real this entire time."
Of course it's real.
Yeah, of course it's real.
Fine.
What are you, stupid?
Absolutely fine.
Okay, good. In that case, yeah. What's your strength like, Oxy?
Not great. Not great. I'm more the strength of the mind type.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
But what you reckon? What do you think? I mean,
I was
if
gonna.
it's already electrocuted someone,
Oh yeah, no, that's true. There was an electrocution.
I don't know
element
if
that I'd forgotten about.
stealing it is. I mean, it's an option. It is an option. It's a bit
Hey,
like an adventure, isn't it?
Herb, get one of those green blobs out of that thing, please. For us, maybe 3 of them. if possible.
Herb stops for a second, looks at you, looks towards the floating white cube, which is which is floating next to him. You know, the one,
Yeah,
the big white cube that was floating around, and then looks back to you and says, "Oh, I don't believe those are for you.
I do.
Please,
It's
let's go and make
actually-
ourselves a refreshing hot tea in the galley."
Oh.
I'm concerned, but I do like that plan.
Herb's got you there on that one.
It's like, oh no!
I'm now getting deeply.
Distract
I'm getting deeply distracted, and if people are watching this on YouTube afterwards, no one's mentioned it on Twitch as far as I can tell. But this morning, in a moment of madness, I decided to cut my own hair, and it's possibly more insane than it has been for a while. So that's why, if anyone's looking at my hair at the moment and going, "What is going on with Matt's hair?" it's because I cut it myself. You should see the back. It's an actual disaster. So I thought I was getting slightly distracted by the shape of my own hair. My wife came in and caught me basically stark bollock naked, covered head to toe in bits of hair, with a kind of like pair of scissors and clippers going.
Not again.
I like
Yeah,
to imagine
basically.
that this is Herbs just talking to us about this. We're all just like,
Yes. So, you know, when I was a boy, I used to. No, Herb is kind of dismissive of it. It's not really for you. You don't need to worry about that. We've got some more important things to worry about. If you'll come to the main console.
No. I want to know
was
what's
gonna
those
say-
greens, Herb.
Can I kick it?
Okay. You
As
can
the
try and kick
G
it if you
expert in
want.
the room.
But
So-
I mean,
My combat is 44,
My
so
goodness. Your combat is over double my combat. And I'm a Marine.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you're in between male enhancement pills at the moment, aren't you?
Very
So-
true.
without those, you're only half a man. So-
Very true.
Shall I? Can I use my combat stat for this?
Yeah, you can kick it. What kind of a kick are you going to do? It's quite a tall thing. Are you going to go for like
I think
heel?
I think it's one of those kicks that is like when you're trying to dislodge some coins out of a 2p arcade machine and they're all balanced on the edge and you're a bit like, I don't want to set off the alarm and I don't want to get Herb cross with me really, but or the cube. But I definitely I want to express my displeasure at the situation and also maybe dislodge one of the green blobs if possible.
Okay.
It's like
Okay,
you're
give me a roll.
whacking
You've got a
a vending
history of-
machine.
Look, I grew up on a
Beating up the
seaside
2p
town.
machines.
Okay, it's not. This is a skill set, all right. If I don't get a critical success, I'll have let down my entire heritage. So, oh, you better believe it's a critical fail.
All right. Okay. Okay.
I believe you set that one up for
Yeah.
yourself. You left
so-
it teetering on the edge of the 2p machine.
Sugar babes!
No, don't invoke their name, otherwise we're gonna have another sanity check. It's...
I thought they were an accepted deity in this, in
Yeah.
this realm.
No, that was a separate system, unfortunately. So you do kick it, but unfortunately, yeah, you aim to just kick it in like kind of like an annoyed child kicking a vending machine. You kick it harder than that by accident, and it really does kind of clang. It's strange because it's a semi-translucent material, the outside of it, but it makes a noise as if it's kind of a really tough metal. You make no impact whatsoever to the machine as far as you can see, and I'm going to say you actually take some damage to your foot. Having kicked something earlier, you didn't do any damage, but it's a bit like when someone tries to open a jar and then they can't, they give it to someone else. It's like they've kind of done a bit of the work. So you've already done a bit of the work in messing up your own foot.
I've loosened my foot.
Yeah, so you're gonna lose a little bit of damage there, and I may come back to point out that your foot is not in a good way in a later date. We'll see.
That's enough kicking for today, Matt.
Do I need to
Herb,
take
at
my
this point
health down at all, or?
No, you do. Yeah, sorry. So I've taken 3 points off of you, but I'm doing it on my magical screen as well, so I forget that you guys have paper.
I see.
And yeah, Tom, you've lost 3 points as well, I believe.
I've lost some health, yes.
Ow, I say.
So, Herb at this point was leaving through the doors to the kind of the northwest to head towards the galley, and at this point the noise, Herb just stops at the door, turns around quite slowly and just looks at you quite firmly in the eye and says, "I must insist that you leave those alone," and then smiles and then carries on walking through the doors and around the corner.
How do we kill
As
Herb?
Google, how do
Talking to you.
I want
How do
to
you kill
murder
Herb?
Herb.
you want to Google that? How do you know what Google is? Roll for stress. No, I'm joking.
Herbicide.
As Herb,
That's Twitch chat's joke. I can't claim that. It's too good.
all right. Herbicide. Yeah. So you're going to get stressed for that, Tom. Because the joke wasn't yours. Shout out to Hotel 2 Tango who implanted that thought into Tom's brain.
It was good.
So, as Herb leaves around the corner, a tiny clunk is heard. And actually, Pip, you have managed to dislodge one of these green things.
Yes.
What are you
Okay.
going to do? You're going to go straight for it?
Wait. Can Juice? Wait. Ow. Wait. I just managed
The
to
least cool thing anyone could say when putting on sunglasses. Ow! Oh,
I managed to get like these little
eye,
things.
Ow!
You know the little things that go on your nose. I managed to get them in. So I managed to get them in my nose rather than on my nose. It was quite impressive. Juice doesn't say any of this, obviously.
Yeah.
He says, "Wait, we'll distract Herb while you find out about the forbidden fruit." And then
Okay.
we march off. Well, I mean, at least I march off to go and distract Herb. I don't know what you do, Orksy.
Yeah, no, I'm coming with less out of distraction, more out of a desire for tea and to actually know what the hell's going on here.
Okay, you
by
both
looking at the
um, leave the room following Herb towards the galley. And now, at this point, I think I'm going to just switch to Pip Cam and see what you're going to do with this for a second. So Pip, you've now got this thing in your hand. It is, it actually feels quite a lot like it looks. It is actually a kind of rubbery substance. It's bright, lurid green, and it is kind of slightly squishy to the touch, but with quite not a lot of give. It's a firm, rubbery substance.
Matt, you know I'm gonna lick it. You know that's the thing that's gonna happen.
All right. Okay.
I don't know why we're even having this.
I mean, should I just say you don't need to log in for these things?
Yeah.
Should I just be like, and obviously Pip licks it. Next scene. I've got to put my hairband back in. This hair is going everywhere. I've got to get my wife to sort my hair out. This is unbelievable.
Well, basically, we'll have a D2 ready, and you'll roll the dice, and on one side it's kick it, and on one side it's lick it. Those are the only available.
We've got kick it, lick it, and flick it.
Yeah.
Those are all of my options.
We've turned into a 90s advert now for like kids' toy.
Pop it.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
You lick it.
Tell
Again,
us what mouth feels
weirdly,
like.
weirdly, it tastes like metal. It doesn't taste like any metal you're aware of.
Okay.
It doesn't feel like metal. It doesn't look like metal, but it tastes like a metal.
Okay.
You also get the sense that there's I mean, have you got any skills that might be to do with like substances?
So I've got scavenging, which would
Substance
presumably have a certain awareness of like what things are and what they can be used for.
I don't think that's going to cut it
Practice of licking
in this
something.
circumstance.
I have linguistics. and
And then
let
Pip's
me
going down the
see.
couch and goes, "Oh wait, no, I have got 3 skill points in licking." So-
I could put on my opera glass.
like a true connoisseur.
Or like hit it with the crowbar, but like I feel like those are kind of my main options right now. I've got computers and piloting and mathematics, so I feel like I'm in a bit of a hole with this one.
No, okay. Well, yeah, okay. No, I don't think you could. I don't think you've got anything you can particularly draw upon with this.
In that case, what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it in my pocket because I'm gonna maybe see whether Oxy has anything that they can do, because I believe there's some jury rigging, some perhaps mechanical skills there that might come in useful.
Great. Is there anything else you'd like to do whilst you're here, whilst Herb is not around, basically, whilst Herb is being distracted?
Question. Could I do a quick scan of the room and see whether there's anything that might tell me a bit more about like what's going on?
With the room you're currently in the storage bay, the cargo bay.
Yeah, like I'm wondering if there's any like manifest or any kind of equipment that might sort of give an indication as to like the purpose of the ship or like the destination.
Okay, yeah, sure. So this cargo bay is a fairly standard thing. You've got some very basic machinery for moving boxes around. You've got some boxes and some shelving. Not a lot of stuff in here. It looks like it's been around for a while, but it doesn't appear to be in very current use. You've got a lot of piping around the edge of the room, like large pipes, which are kind of odd, like a bit of a superfluous design thing. As far as you can tell, like they're not making any noise. You're not 100% sure what the deal is. In fact, when you knock them, you're not even sure that they're hollow. It's some odd detailing. But then you also have access to an airlock here, which is obviously the second airlock in the ship, which is basically allows for easy access to and from the cargo hold. As cargo holds go, it's not a remarkably large one. This is not a ship that was used for shipping stuff. This is very much a kind of like it's not quite a fighter, but it's maybe suitable for a crew of up to 10 people. It's a small little ship, a bit nippy. There are a couple of things maybe. So you also, within this space, actually, you can. There's a ventilation shaft within this room. For those of you at home or on the stream, within this room, you are at the bottom of the ship, really, on the furthest side, the furthest point really away from the galley, which is on the opposite side of the ship where you entered. So that second airlock is on the opposite side. within this space, you have two small ventilation shafts. Both of them quite high. You're not sure where they would lead to, but these ventilation shafts will clearly lead around the ship, and you could get into them by climbing up on top of some of the stuff you can move around. The lightest thing you can move around probably is some of the metal shelving. It's still quite heavy, and you're not confident you can move it around without making quite a bit of noise. But you can see the entrances to two of these shafts. It's likely that somewhere within the ship's systems, if you were to log in, you would be able to get a kind of more complete view of these within the ship and where they might lead to and what they might do. Actually, while you're thinking about this, while you're actually investigating this, thinking about this, I'm going to have you do me a couple of rolls. Could you do me an intellect roll, please?
Okay, my intellect is 40. And
Okay.
That's 35, so I have passed that.
Okay. So one of the things you do notice is you realise when looking at this room in particular, you realise that for a second, actually, it catches you off guard. Because for a brief second, you're not in your body. You're outside of your body. And you are being eviscerated by a creature, a blurred out creature with black mandibles. However, it's only for a very briefest of moments, and in a way it's almost like a glitch in the system. I'm not even going to ask you to become stressed because of it, because your backup systems click in almost immediately. So it's a slight failure on the part of the thing you coded earlier, which you haven't noticed yet, and it's not going to be a recurring thing, you don't think, because you have noticed some qualities in dipping of fidelity within your perception systems. However, what you do realize in this is the reason it was so vivid and the reason it was strange and an out-of-body experience, as if viewing the room from a third-person camera, is actually, whilst examining the room, you briefly managed to overlay some of the footage that you were looking into.
Okay.
And you realize that one of the scenes you saw of people being killed by one of these creatures was actually in this room. And somewhat worryingly, you see from that perspective kind of have the lingering memory of the ventilation shaft on the right-hand side of the room having been kind of ripped open with the sense that whatever it was that killed the people in that video memory had attacked them by coming through that vent.
Okay.
And I'm also going to ask you to... does anyone here have knowledge of ships?
I have
Nope.
piloting.
Okay, I think this is one for you again then, Pip. You've got piloting and you've got computers. So I'm going to ask you to make a computers roll.
Okay, so computers.
But you can add an extra 5 points for piloting.
Okay, so would computers then be a 10% on top of like something else? Or
Yeah,
I-
I think so. So it would probably be intellect.
maybe? Okay,
Yeah.
so that would be 55 that I'm rolling against. 60, unfortunately.
You almost think of something else about the ship while you're thinking about it, but it's gone. You kind of almost have a thing, and you're like, "What was I thinking about? I don't know what I was thinking about."
Oh,
Anyway,
no.
it's probably not a big deal. It's probably not a big deal. It's just something else to do with the ship. But you maybe it will come back to you. We'll see.
Okay.
In the meantime, Oxy and Juice, what have you been talking to Herb about during this time?
What his favorite? I'm trying to think of something that isn't a cultural reference. Otherwise, we're going to go down a sanity rabbit hole. What is his favorite board game? What's your favorite space board game in space? I'm a real fan of Race for the Galaxy, 19th edition. It's my favorite spaceport game. What's yours, Herb?
I'm glad you clarified that addition. Otherwise, you
Yes.
would be in a lot of trouble. Okay. Herb's not especially interested in space board games or board games at all. They don't seem to get a lot of.
Philistine.
They don't seem to have. They're not very interesting. In fact, you have to really kind of work hard at the conversation to keep them distracted. But they're very keen on helping you. So they are also looking for some like. Is there anything they can do to help? Is there anything you'd like to know? So we can not do the conversation here, but we can just speed it. If you've got any specific questions you might have, I can just give you some information or not.
I think I kind of want to just be like nudging around the edges of like this thing that Herb was saying earlier about reality shifting, and I'm just trying to needle. Like I understand what he was getting at with the kind of like perception reality thing, and I'm just trying to figure out the kind of boundaries of what he's aware of what's happened, like whether he knows more than he's letting on to us about exactly where we've got to, and just kind of toying at that basically.
Okay, so you are the galley where you are at this point is effectively kind of also what most people would think of as being like the command area of a ship. It's where you have somebody who will sit in a chair and look out of some windows at space, and there's some panels there where you control things, etc. Again, all a little bit more automated than you're used to in a ship that looks like this from this era. So while you're doing this, you can kind of like try and be pointing at some of the devices and some of the things to try and get a sense of exactly what happened and exactly where you might be. What's your tact going to be with this?
My tact?
Yeah.
I'm just kind of being very, very conversational about everything and just being like, oh yeah, so what's this thing here, and like where, and you said that the reality, so this floating cup thing here, like that's a bit odd. Does that indicate we've moved far, or do you think that's, how long were we out for? And just it's kind of idle chit chat, but it's also like I'm making sure that the topic is always the sense of reality as it is, how the ship works, and what I want to know more about the ship. I want to know more about the ship and how we got here.
Well, Herb is very positive about the ship and says it's a great all-rounder. Sure, it has its flaws, but gets you from A to B and it can stick up for itself in a fight. It becomes clear that basically you have travelled, you've had a full jump. The system has two jump engines in it, effectively, which means you think you were in hyperspace for about a week, maybe, which means you've kind of gone a not insubstantial distance. You've got the equivalent of maybe a solar system away from where you were previously. And the thing that's gonna, what have you guys got? You got anything? All right.
I know planets.
You know planets, do you?
I think that's the closest thing to.
Fantastic. All right. Could you give me an intellect planets roll, please?
Yep, sure. So that is 49 plus 15 is 64, and that is 47.
Yes.
Okay, great. You're slightly concerned about the fact that originally, obviously you didn't know any of these people before any of this stuff, but originally that you'd come from an area of space that was not like that far out, and you travelled. It took you quite a while actually, because you didn't have the most expensive ship. As a scientist working in the scrap sector, you maybe weren't pulling in the big dollars compared to some of the other people, getting distracted by looking at things and all the fun stuff. So it took you a while to get there, but you weren't that far out, and you're kind of adding it up as you're nodding idly and looking out of the windows which are in front of you. And you're realizing that you don't recognize any of the planets outside. So, which is weird, because you can see a couple and you're like, I don't know what they are. They actually look kind of odd. And you realize that you are further out than you would think would be possible. But of course, you have no idea when this happened. When you woke up in the facility before, you had no idea how you got there. So it may be that Herb is lying and you've actually been out for longer than a week and you've been in hyperspace for much longer than that. Or it may be that in the first place you were taken further away than you anticipated. Do you have any other questions? Oh, sorry, the question was to do with, sorry. We're getting to the point of the day now where role-playing plus technology plus heatwave is melting little Matt's brain. They try and explain again this theory of perceptive relativity. Could you roll me an intellect, actually?
Yeah. 46. These dice are good today. That is just under intellect.
Okay, great. You're fairly fixated on this because it sounds like nonsense. It doesn't sound real. But actually, as soon as you start digging away at this, you don't really understand you don't understand how it works exactly, but it makes sense. It's not something you've ever heard before. You know that there are problems with hyperjump systems, and you know that sometimes it causes weird things to happen, and you've heard rumors about that, and there's not a lot of science behind it. People don't do it very often because it's usually really bad. And you do know that just with most science, there is a degree to which hyperjump systems work, that they just sort of do work, don't worry about it, let's just use it, it's fine. Some of it makes sense in a way that you kind of can't quite get your head around. You know what it's a bit like, actually? It's a bit like when you copy some code off the internet to use in a program of your own, and it just sort of works, and you can kind of understand how it works, but not really. And maybe one day you will. So I'll let you sit with that for a while, and maybe it will start to make some more sense. But the thing that's striking is the fact that you're a scientist, you don't specialize in this sort of stuff, but and you may not have been hanging around with scientists for a while, working as a scrapper, but you're not stupid. And the ideas and concepts and explanations that Herb is dealing with to explain space and time are like nothing you've ever heard before. And he's describing them quite calmly. And they kind of make sense. So that's about that. At this point, unless Pip, did you have anything else you wanted to be doing?
I think my inclination was to actually leave that storage room and try to investigate other spaces to see whether they could tell me anything else, or even just, find a ladder for the air vents or something.
Sure.
But yeah, so I definitely want to go away from where Herb took the other two, just because
yes,
of
okay.
the noise
Well,
and all of that stuff.
Your options within that then would be moving out of the cargo bay into the science labs, or into the room where the engines are, where the jump engines are, or into the room where the computers are, or back into the cryopod area.
Okay, I feel like my strength is in computers, so computers feels like the right direction to be heading.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you walk into the room with the computers, and this is a medley of stuff going on. It's basically these 5 quite in-depth looking computer core systems with front panels and access things, and I'm really getting into the technical stuff now, as you can tell. All of the things that you'd imagine. Hey, you think a computer has that? It's got it. What do you want? You want a hard drive?
Right.
It's probably got them. That's probably a Windows sound that just got sent to everybody.
My favorite computer thing.
Right? Got to get those Windows sounds in there. So basically, yeah, there is a huge amount of cooling systems around here, basically. So you have these computer cores are surrounded by pipes, which look like they're using some sort of liquid cooling system going into the back, into the outer wall, which you presume is the edge of the ship and space. And there's a whole web of cooling systems around the edge of the room. These are clearly very powerful computers. And to be honest, there is kind of then like these massive server mainframes down the other end of the ship, which are a little unusual. Can you make me another computer check?
Have any of them got RGB lighting?
Minesweeper.exe. 3.
Okay, so you've really succeeded here. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you a bunch of things that are a bit odd about this computer room. First of all, there are only 5 like kind of CPU cores within this space. And you know, within this context, these are very large, powerful ships. So the CPU cores are kind of the size of a full desktop, extra large case computer. They're none of these little diddly ones, because some of the calculations you need to do when traveling through space at hyperlight speed are a bit fiddly. What's weird about this is that you know that a ship that has 2 warp cores, in addition to the kind of equipment on here, would usually have 6. So that's just a bit odd. Again, it could be there's something going on here that you can't see. It could be that the computers are more powerful than your usual, but it's odd. It's weird. You kind of feel like actually adding it up, based on what you've seen in the ship, you feel like there should be another computer somewhere. The other thing that's weird is that the data servers, there's a lot of them. Like there's a lot of data being transferred around here in a way, which is strange. Usually with a ship like this, you would have less of a reserve of hard drive space and memory, and more just pure computing. You would have cycles to be able to just basically make the calculations it needs to make to calculate jumps and make sure the trajectory is going to be fine and make sure that you can continue traveling at that speed and coming out with the right things. It's weird. It's like as soon as you start hitting the golf ball in the right direction, it's quite hard. But after you've done that, there's not that much calculation. It's just a case of like, okay, well, I guess we're going this fast for a while. But here, it's a bit weird. There's a lot of data, a lot of space for temporary data for calculations. It's unusual. You can't think of you've seen you can imagine like a research facility having something like this, but it's weird for a spaceship. You kind of can't work out what the purpose of that would be. And at that point, you feel and hear a very large clank, like an impact noise. And find your balance slightly knocked off. And the same is true for all of you. For Juice and Orcsy, you feel a kind of a very strange kind of thing. You're knocked slightly forwards, just because you're not expecting the impact whatsoever, and you're knocked kind of towards the front of the ship, towards the place where you would have the main where you have the main windows looking out into space. And it's very clear that you have you've hit something. And the thing that's weirdest about this is the ship has clearly hit something, which means the ship is clearly cruising at some sort of speed, which you weren't entirely aware of. But you can't be going very quickly, is the thing, because you've been looking out the window, Orcsy, for a while, looking a bit worried about these planets and not recognizing anything. You weren't really detecting much motion, so you must be very gently moving along. But whatever you've hit has just hit the front of the ship. But you're looking out the windows at the moment from the front of the ship. So unless there's another bit of the front of the ship that you don't know about, you should be able to see what you've just hit, but you can't.
Are we going to hit it in the future?
At this point, Herb gets up and says, and turns around and says, I'm terribly sorry, and leaves up from the table where you've been sitting and enjoying tea. How much have you been drinking the tea, by the way, Orcsy? Have you been glugging it down, sipping it carefully?
Yep.
No hesitation. Yes, of course, the whole thing.
Like we made a new one, right? So I had to wait a while
Yeah.
for it to cool down, but we were having the conversation about the space things. I'm trying to work out whether
Over tea.
Herb is sounding like a kind of like wafty philosopher going on about Schrodinger's cat, when actually doing real sciencey brain stuff.
Okay. So what I'm going to say
That's time for a tea to cool down.
I'm going to say that you're going to take another point of stress for this intensely strange experience of acclimating to a substance and drink which you know and love, but you do not know why you know and love it. But from this point onwards, you are now immune to tea in terms of its nostalgia effects. You've had it enough that now it's not bringing up this weird dissonance. It's now like it's a thing that you know about now because it's a thing you've been drinking for a few days.
And
So,
if we get to that point with everything in the scenario, we win. So
that's it. We drink everything.
Yeah.
We drink everything.
We just become comfortable with the strangeness, and then we are victorious.
Matt Lees, finish that pear.
I was going to say, lick everything, everyone.
Lick everything and then kick everything. Choose your order. Yeah. Okay. Herb gets up and basically says, "Oh, we should probably," and basically begins going up to the computer and tapping away at stuff. It's Pip who has the piloting stuff, but you feel a very gentle change, and it's clear that Herb is now moving the ship backwards.
Beep, 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 beep.
Again, you don't notice anything. Reversing. You don't notice anything through the viewport at the front of the ship, but you can feel a very gentle change in inertia. If that's a thing that exists in space. I'm trying with the stuff, but I actually don't understand science, is the fun thing. So, yes. So what do you do?
I've been wanting to ask Herb for a while, how close are we to adventure?
We just ate it.
But Sir Juice, I believe we're already on an adventure of sorts.
Can I punch Herb?
But I just need to.
He's so annoying.
Calibrate our direction. Herb is now kind of like, you can tell Herb is not 100% focused on you. Actually, Herb seems to be trying to pull the ship, to kind of maneuver the ship, and is doing some stuff on the controls to do with setting a new mapping course. Have either of you got any knowledge of computers at all or anything like that?
No.
I do.
Oh, yeah. Ava does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oxy knows a computer.
Yeah.
I literally did the diagnostic earlier.
Yeah.
Bloody ace.
You did, sorry.
An android's brains in different bits. Now they're seeing double, but that's helpful.
Sorry, I forgot about your brain skills.
Ice cream.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to make a computers check.
Cool. That would be a 1.
Ooh. Spicy.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to give you some bonus stuff here then. I'm going to say to you that you notice that Juice is still continuing to talk to Herb and ask him questions and do stuff. Herb's attentions now are not on you or either of you at all. Herb is very focused on just doing something with the computer. And they kind of said, and they're not, you haven't really asked them about it, but they are, at first you think, oh, they're just changing the direction of the ship. But actually, they appear to be, like a StarCraft player, they appear to be setting a number of waypoints. And you realize they are actually trying to very quickly and discreetly, not just change the direction of the ship, but actually set a minor course in quite a small amount of space relatively, as if trying to skirt around something, and then continue on the similar trajectory to before. The other thing you notice is that there are, on this screen that they're looking at, there are absolutely no diagnostics. There are absolutely no... there's no information about what's in space. This is somebody just drawing carefully around something which isn't anywhere, and isn't out the window. And it's kind of alarming because you look at it and you're like, you feel like you don't know that much about ships, but you know enough about computers to know that there should be another screen here. There should either be another screen here, or Herb should be looking up out of the window in front of them, and they don't. They don't look up at the window at all. They just focus on this thing, do this thing, and it's over in such the briefest of moments. In a way, like if you hadn't been so quick at just looking at what the screen was and identifying what sort of system it was running and working out how the software was working, you would have missed it. It takes them about a second to go beep, 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 beep. And then afterwards they just turn around and says, shall we continue our tea?
Yeah, yes.
This is good denial. We just keep ourselves in the simulation.
Have some
Don't
tea.
wake up. You know,
Have some tea.
we'll be fine.
I want to talk to people, but I don't want Herb to be there. I just said that out loud. Oh no.
So.
Sorry, Herb.
So. Okay. Juice, you hear a small voice. A very, very tiny voice. And in your head, it seems to come from the floating cuboid white thing. I mean,
does it say it's nice here in the Matrix?
No, it doesn't say that. But honestly, you hear something and you realize it's kind of like you. It's a bit like the way that audio software works, of being able to use a noise gate. Of having it being like, okay, anything that's below this volume is just going to get ducked down to nothing. But whenever you get a noise coming in, Matt, you get a split second where you can hear all the background noise.
I suddenly
the noise isn't being cancelled.
A flashback to sitting at my computer, trying to do an edit in some video editing software, and having this man tell me how I should do certain things.
No, you hear a bunch of voices. You hear the noise of lots of people saying lots of things for the briefest glimmer of a moment. You think you hear that. You hear T-Tolerance. Wait, Pip, is Matt? Would you say clank space, teraflops, the size of a fridge, amazing, bit fiddly, how many video cards got sifted to subs? Got a nice here, mate. We live here now. Thanks for the gift, sub now. You hear a bunch of things, but then very clearly in a very quiet voice, all of this fades away to nothing, and you hear a very quiet voice just saying, you don't remember exactly what it is, but it's something like, I would like to talk to someone, but I don't want Herb to hear.
Whoa. Okay. Can I signal, like, I'll go to Orcs and be like... like that?
Yeah.
And like, and can I just slowly shuffle down the corridor towards, the armory, maybe?
Okay, yeah. As you're leaving from the bridge, Herb says, "Oh, should I make some more tea?"
Yes.
Yeah. Make a cup of tea and then check and see whether Matt Lease is okay.
Maybe? Yes, my android in crime. Absolutely, I will do.
There are no crimes going on. We're not going to do a crime.
So,
I'm absolutely doing a crime.
Oh God! Wait, I've just sent.
So you push yourself out of the galley area and you move down the corridor to. You move down the corridor basically, and you are now kind of the easiest place to hide and get a little moment of chatter is just around the corner in why is it not doing that? Okay, that's fine.
Favorite song.
You are on hold. You are on hold. You are on hold. Also, you are in space. Okay. Don't you know that it's toxic outside on this planet?
And all make sanity rolls.
And the atmosphere's toxic. Okay. Okay. Oh, I know what I'm doing. Okay, that's funny. I was trying to do keyboard shortcuts on my laptop, which is not my computer. Okay. Right. So you basically you come around and you gently kind of encourage Orcsy round the corner, and you stand in the kind of slightly enclosed area, which will then lead down towards the area where you would get the weapon control systems. Again, you know that there's weapon control systems down there. No one else has had a proper look around, but you kind of already know about it for some reason. It's kind of weird. And you explain. Well, Orcsy, I imagine, explains the weirdness that just happened. At which point you think about how, like, you're kind of like thinking about the weirdness of Herb not looking out of the window at any point. And that combined with the fact that what little you know about spaceships, you should have been able to see whatever you hit because it felt like it was something quite substantial. And then you remember that one of the things you know about this ship is that when you went around on a when you went around the ship on a little tour, you didn't see any other windows. The only windows on this ship are in the galley, which is also the kind of command area. Those are the only windows, which is kind of weird. Like, most ships tend to have some windows or something resembling them. But you do remember there is another window. There's one more window in the ship, and that window is next to the gunnery control at the end of this corridor. It's a very small window. It's more of a porthole, but it's kind of there as a backup for the manual controls for the autocannon, which allow you to basically take control of the cannon. And if the screens fail or the electronics fail, you can still have a hope of shooting something if it is in front of you.
Look out the window.
You
So
creep
it's like
down.
lick the window.
You creep down the tightly packed corridor, looking out, peeking your head through the porthole, looking out into space to quite clearly see the hull of a spaceship. Gently, you're moving away from it quite gently, but it's very close. It must be within about 200 feet at this point. And you're sure that from where you are now and where you were out a moment ago in the galley, you would have been able to see this ship through those windows, but you didn't.
Huh.
I think Herb's definitely trying to hide something from us.
I think Herb's trying to hide something from us, and the way that we should deal with that is with the only way that I know how, which is violence.
Oh, dear.
Let's...
Oh,
Can I
you're
search
You're going to do
for...
a Matt Lease and you kick the thing, aren't you?
All right,
ready to
I'm going to
kick,
leave you
I'm
to
ready
work
to
out for a
lick.
second. I'm gonna leave you to work out what you're going to do.
Okay.
Okay, I can see what you're thinking, and you're thinking that's a big gun, and that's the thing we can see, and you're thinking we could shoot
No,
the thing, right?
no, I do not. I think
Juice,
that
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I
It is adventure. I do think
Hmm.
that whatever's got us in the situation wants us to be adventuring, and I think that that is a valid approach.
a valid approach is just to shoot whatever we see.
No, not quite that. Leaning in is a valid approach.
Uh-huh.
Shooting a form of adventure. We don't want to run away
Maybe.
from adventure. What are you thinking?
I hate Herb so much. I really don't like Herb, so I want to get ourselves a Herb. And like, why are we leaving control of this big old boat we're calling home to this imbecile pottering around.
Home now. I want to go home. I don't want to just be here. And
For now,
so far, Herb's the only one who has any clue what's going on.
that's very true. But I still think we should give him a little bit of a hit because it would make me feel very good. Maybe I mean, this is the thing, it's very easy to roleplay Juice Springsteen because Juice Springsteen isn't intelligent enough to kind of put the pieces together and know what's going on, and neither am I. So, I think we should, I think that there's some kind of, there's an overlay that's going on in the helm of the ship that's preventing us from seeing out of it, and we need to ask Herb, do we just do what Herb wants us to do and just lean into adventure, or do we rebel against? It's now or never.
I don't know. For me, Oxy, as me right here, Herb's lying to us. Herb's just taken us somewhere far. We don't know where we are. If Herb doesn't want us to sit, if we want to go against Herb, I think actually, I know I was being quite dismissive, but maybe we shoot the thing to let the thing know that we're here, and that Herb's
and then just see what Herb does.
So are our options punch Herb or shoot the thing?
I feel like Juice Springsteen has somewhat tainted the water here with these suggestions of violence.
I'm just gonna say for a second here, right? I spent a decent amount of time making these little stat overlays for each of your characters that track all of this stuff and show your stats. And I was like, yeah, these look quite nice, but I was disappointed in myself. And I was going to bring it up. I was disappointed because yes, they do look nice. Yes, they do look like they're straight out of a science fiction video game, but they are unbelievably trad. And they are just properly boring, macho sci-fi bollocks. And I thought, it's a shame that whilst you've made something that does look quite cool, it's pretty dull and it's not very interesting, and it's definitely not as cool as the actual aesthetic of Mothership and the Mothership books, which is rad as heck and neon and sharp. And it's just I don't have that in me. But then you guys are just violence. So maybe that's all you deserve, is some trad sci-fi nonsense.
It's not violence. I'm trying to send a signal.
It's about the message.
Send the message. I'm going to send them a message.
A warning shot. We can let the people there know that we're here.
That is a very good idea. Because then maybe that does us good in both respects. If we shoot a little warning shot and the ship in front of us is a bad ship that wants us dead, then we've got combat on our hands. And combat, that's textbook adventure, right? On the other hand, if Mr. Herb is the devil incarnate, then doing a little bit of a warning shot is going to get some help maybe over to us when they come over and they start shooting the ship, and I don't know, we can surrender. Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
So I'm going to say that during this time, you have been furtively whispering to one another, debating this in character for about 2 or 3 minutes.
2 or 3 hours.
During this time, the android currently known as Matt Lees. Anyone who tuned in late to this or as part of that, we should point out that, Pip is an android called Matt Lees with a Z. It's slightly confusing, but actually we're kind of getting used to it. It's fine. You are getting some strange transmissions in your head. At first, you assume to ignore it because you think it's going to be something to do with your systems going wrong, as has been quite common today. However, you start to notice that some of these are happening and the system is not actually dulling the aesthetic of them. The audio quality isn't dropping. And you realize that actually, either the hacks that you made earlier with the help of Oxy have stopped working, or there's actually something going on, some sort of transmission going on. And you can hear some snippets of lots of things. Always suspected I was a voice in someone's mate. Herb bread. Did a crime? No crime. When you think, aren't we all in a category? When you roleplay, Springsteen, simple taste, simple man. Salvador, hard and violent. Refuge, less refuge of the incompetent. Springsteen, violence. Out of it, you start to basically get the inkling, and it seems a bit. In fact, I'm going to ask you to make a sanity check on this.
That won't go well, I don't think. Anyway, so my sanity is 20. I mean, 96. So...
Okay, 96.
Yeah. Should I just like lie down?
Okay. So I'm going to give you 3 stress.
Okay.
Which means I believe you're now on 12 stress. If I can read very tiny fonts on my monitor ahead of me.
11. I was on 8.
That's it. Okay. Well, I think you might have been on 9 then, because it says computer says you've got 12. So
oh no.
Computer says 12, so it's 12.
Fine.
Sorry, Pip. Computers
But I've
aren't
still
wrong.
got resolve. I've got resolve.
You do. That's for when you panic, right?
Yeah.
Now you're not going to panic, okay? No, you're not going to panic at this point, okay? What I'm going to say to you is you panic there and you become stressed because you are a bit convinced that there is something seriously wrong with your computing systems. Or you have been infiltrated by some third-party device or software that you're not aware of at the moment. But it's a deep concern and it makes you quite stressed as an entity. However, it will be something that you might be able to get that back. So I've given you 3. I'll make a note, make a 3 in a bubble for you. It may be that if you can shine a light on what's going on, that you might be able to claw back some of that stress with an answer to what is currently, at the moment, stressful. However, for now, for a brief moment, you can catch enough glimmers that you are basically part of the conversation with Oxy and Juice. And you hear furtive whispers and references, and it's a distraction to the point that you can't really fixate on what you're doing. Would you two like to just whisper some snippets of your conversation?
Whack. Herbicide.
Do we punch
now?
Do we punch the thing?
Shoot the man! Punch the thing!
Only
Guns across the
warning.
bow!
It's just
Shoot
a
near the
little,
thing.
just a little gun as a snack.
Just a little
I
warning
think I'm
shot.
psychic.
Yes.
Just a little warning.
I am the world's first psychic android.
Yes.
Can they hear me?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not talking out loud, are you?
Oh. I mean, I announce things to myself
Say some things out
regularly,
loud.
so I'm assuming I don't.
I'm going to say that for now, they're too distracted with their own conversation to tune into it. For whatever reason, you've been tuning into something. And actually, you notice that the large cuboid shape is just behind you at this point.
Okay.
You're not sure when it got there. It never seems to move. It just is places. So yeah, I'm basically, if you so wish, you have the option to kind of go and catch up with them sneakily. Being aware now that maybe you kind of have a surface level awareness. You missed some of the details, but you're aware that part of the conversation going on in your head maybe, but you kind of get a sense that it isn't, and actually you're hearing something.
Okay.
Maybe there's some speakers or some microphones within the ship. You're basically trying to rack your brains to try and work out what sort of a reason there could be. You could have had a wireless device installed into you. You could be eavesdropping on part of the ship without knowing it, etc.
One of those whispering walls.
Yeah, the whispering walls. You could even actually you think back you think back to the fact that maybe 40 minutes ago you had Herb offering to kind of install some sort of wireless device in you so you could have some sort of interlink. It could be that for some reason something that you're receiving now is intended for Herb and is somehow being rerouted to you wrongly as an android. You don't have any answers, but you know that your two other current colleagues are considering firing an autogun or attacking or killing Herb.
Okay.
Just
That
roughing up a
feels-
bit.
Okay, just roughing up a bit.
Pressing. Is there anything that would indicate to me in this room with these computer terminals that I could in some way back up what they've said? Like, so clearly they've mentioned firing a warning shot at something nearby. And so is there, could I try accessing any data that would tell me like what that was or anything like that on the systems I have access to?
From the computer settings, yeah, you can get some just general diagnostic screens up. You can effectively interface the same systems as are available from the kind of the galley. Again, like your brief research into it brings up the same as would have been done if you'd been in the galley and looking out the window, the fact that you can't see it. There's nothing on the sensors. Like, you know, the ship, you can see that the ship has changed course and you can see a new course has been set. It's not actually, you know, within about a few seconds of looking at this, the course changes again, and then the course changes again. So you can see that the ship is moving, you can see where it's going, but nothing on the long range or medium range or short range sensors suggests there's any form of proximity to something, which you know doesn't make any sense because you just felt the ship hit something as well. In the meantime, whilst you're having this conversation about whether or not to fire the autocannons as a warning shot or whether to maybe try and do something to Herb, gotta do it. You get, I mean, that sounds quite stressful to me. Does that sound quite stressful?
No.
I think that's quite stressful.
I'm just reassured that Juice is so used to violence that this is a normal thing.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I'm going to say that, Orksy, you're quite stressed about it. But Juice Springsteen is fine. He's like, the idea of being like, listen, we either shoot some guns or we punch a man.
It's fine.
Like,
it's in my nature.
I really
There's a
want there
reason
to
that
be
doesn't
another option,
see-
but I really can't.
Which is kind of odd, because like Juice is a Marine who is not strong, but has this incredible confidence. Well, it would be interesting to work out how much action Juice is actually seen as a Marine.
Hey,
that's something we can discover
don't
in the
question
future.
it.
I mean, you've got the pills for it, I suppose. But anyway,
Absolutely.
This is a family show. So, whilst you're having this conversation about you can shoot a warning shot across the bow, looking out the window, as you're now gently moving around the edge of this, you can see quite clearly that this ship has a rather large hole in the side of it, and you're now actually looking into what is clearly a partially destroyed ship.
What?
And in fact, you can see that it's been torn apart. Really, you can see nearby actually the slight glimmer of light reflecting off of some bits of the hull which are nearby. But it looks like the force with which this thing was torn apart, you wouldn't expect to see much of it around anywhere nearby.
What does the ship look like? Does it look kind of similar to ours?
You can't tell. I mean, at this point, it's like you haven't. Well, A, you've never seen the outside of the ship you're on. B, it's just like all you've really seen is a dark hull. Glinting metallic, and then you've also seen the fact that you can just see like the cabling and the space girders and all that stuff. Kind of, it's the very fabric of the ship was sort of ripped apart. This wasn't a clean cut. This was something quite violent. You know, it's even like it looks like some sort of internal explosion.
And as a a general question, not one pointed. This is a question for the GM. Is there anything that we've seen on the ship that would let us leave the ship, like some
Oh, yeah.
suits to go, spacesuit stuff?
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, we saw
You've
the
got
EVA,
EVA
didn't
suits.
we? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You've got in the barracks. You have EVA suits, and
So option 3 here is do what I know best, which isn't make a cup of tea, surprisingly, but scavenge. Why don't we go and have a look? Why don't we go and have a look what's over there? I know how to EVA. You know how to think. There's definitely nothing utterly, genuinely terrifying about space for experts like us.
Definitely nothing terrifying for
We can
someone with the
have a
caliber
look.
as Juice. Do we want to ask? Here's the question though: do we want to ask Herb's permission, or do we just leave?
I think we leave, and if he stops us, you get your wish, right?
Yes.
And if he doesn't, then we're on an adventure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this does seem like an adventure, and that's what Herb wants us to do. So if he thinks that was a bad idea, we can be like, "Well, mate, you want us to do that? Yeah,
How do
you want
not expect me
adventure?
to go on
Giving it to you."
Yeah. How would you not want me to do that? Like
Exactly.
That's part of. We're in space. Adventuring involves going and looking for things that might help us on other ships, right? Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Let's go and get some spacesuits.
Let's go and get some spacesuits.
okay.
Get some space.
You head into the barracks and begin to open up the cases where the EVA equipment is stored. The stuff is pretty tough, but has to be stored quite carefully because obviously if you just leave it knocking around and it gets a hole in it, you're going to be in a lot of trouble quite quickly. You remembered coming in from the airlock that you have all of the systems you need for fixing the pressure of these suits via kind of a bit of an antiquated system of piping and pressure gauges effectively is going to be in the main airlock that you just came out of, which you're currently where as well is actually quite close to where this hulk is. You think from the airlock, if carefully depressurized, you could probably take a leap over to the hulk. It's only about 80 feet, 100 feet at this point. So yeah, you're not too concerned about that. And obviously within the barracks as well, you have got this large weapons cage, which you've already broken into, and there's a bunch of stuff there. But you've also got within the kind of the corner of this room, you have a bunch of equipment which is quite useful. You have specifically some stuff like some very basic metal roping, effectively, which you think would be quite useful for just allowing yourself to make sure that you can actually get across to the other ships safely without having to take a kind of leap of faith. You've also got some very simple like grapple equipment. Nothing too strong. It's very much personal, kind of personal grappling hook, which will allow you to kind of attach and create a line, and a bunch of other tools. You've got some things like welding tools, some breaching tools. I'm just going to say that this armory section is reasonably well stocked, and you guys can basically just tell me like what you would like to find in this circumstance, and within reason, I'll just say that you can have it.
So I think the metal rope things sounded pretty good. Grappling hooks, the spacesuits, the biggest gun there is in there, I would like, Bruce. Not compensating for anything. And then something... What else? Anything else that
I mean, we need to tie ourselves on. We need to like make sure that we've got something anchored to this ship.
Space
we
torch.
Can use the thing we can use the pressure to kind of bump us over there because the airlock will depressurize and push us out. So as long as we've got a good anchor point on this side, like something to pull us to that side, so the grapple will do well for that, and something that we can use to kind of grab things.
like one of those litter
bring back.
pickers. That we
Yeah,
you
that's
have
exactly
one of those
what I
like
was
a
thinking of, like a little
exact-
claw on a
yeah,
claw
and
on
go
a stick.
and yeah, so
For
claw on a
for
stick,
just grabbing stuff.
and then
That's your
maybe like
standard.
like a little like a yeah, that'll do, and that's
Yeah,
a good
yeah.
little
Okay, yeah. Well, because this is a ship with a science lab on it. There is some equipment which is basically specifically for substance retrieval or entity retrieval, which is kind of a thing on a stick, as Ava puts it. Yeah. Also, like, the closest thing you can find, there are some small grapple devices, but actually the most likely looking thing is actually there's a hand 290 rigging gun in the stores, and you realize actually that might be more useful for this. It's just a bit more punchy. The microfiber wire is going to be enough for just traveling through space, and it's just going to be a little bit more give. So it might be a good idea for one of you to grab the rigging gun, particularly because, again, there's no reason why you can't take a couple of wires and a couple of things. I'd say you can take. They're a bit heavy, so I could say you could take 2 wires and 2. So you could take 3 in total, because you're going to fire 1 probably to get across in the first place. But taking a couple might be useful. You never know what's going to go on. The best and largest gun you can find. Well, actually, you've got some options. Actually, you've got a couple of things. You've got the SK-109 Seeker Smart Rifle, the F-20 Arbiter Pulse Rifle, the Kano X9 Combat Shotgun. They're probably the largest things knocking around. Which of those takes your fancy? Obviously, as a Marine, you have some awareness of what these things are.
Yes, please. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
The Smart Rifle basically has... it's kind of a chunky thing. The Smart Rifle is probably not right for the situation. It requires a HUD link-up, which basically means you'd have like a helmet, which would give you a kind of an enhanced vision system, which would basically be very helpful. Maybe not going to work with an EVA suit. No. At the moment, the stuff you're looking at in terms of big guns that might be useful, the combat shotgun is pretty useful. It's got a audio rangefinder, which basically means that it will beep when non-friendlies approach within 10 meters. And I mean, non-friendlies, I should be clear in this instance, will be anything that is not you, because this hasn't been calibrated and you're not actually wearing combat equipment. So you would have to be wearing some of the combat equipment, which is in this barracks, but isn't going to fit underneath the EVAs. Okay. So you'd have to be a little bit careful with that one. Also, you've got basically slugs that knock people down. It's a pretty beefy close-range weapon.
I'll take that one.
Pulse
that
rifle
sounds good.
The pulse rifle fires phosphorus frag grenades. Might be overkill.
A little bit. I'll take that. The shotgun sounds like the kind of thing that Juice Springsteen would enjoy, not for its effectiveness, but the kind of cool factor, the kind of the machismo sort of like beefiness that Juice looks for in anything, in a way. That I think that would be the ideal sitch.
Okay, so you're going to go for that, and as you're a Marine and you wear sunglasses sometimes, at least in your brain, I'll also allow you to take something small, and your options would be like, what would you like? What would you like? What sort of thing would you like?
One big grenade, please.
One big grenade.
Yes.
Okay. You can't
finest.
find any grenades.
Oh.
You can't find grenades. This is not exactly an armory designed for war. It's more designed for just defense. But you can find something that resembles. It's basically a stun grenade of sort. It's mainly it's pitched as being a security device, but it's you know that really it's the same stuff that they use for military operations. They'll buy you some time, if anything.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Oxy, what sort of equipment would you be looking for, roughly?
I mean,
Apart from a grabby stick.
Yeah, I kind of want. I basically want the list of things that's under excavation on my thing. So some mag boots, if they're not already part of the thing. I want the rigging gun.
Okay.
And if there's any kind of scanner for like scanning the physical shape of stuff and life forms, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I can give you an enhanced ocular headset, basically, which kind of is just a very simple thing. It looks like a kind of rubbish VR helmet from our current era. It will completely, when using it, replace your current view, but it will offer night vision, heat vision, and basically offer you a lot of additional information about stuff. And it will overlay. It's not like the most powerful thing in terms of like information. It's a bit like the equivalent of having a mobile phone that can search for things with using data, but then you're on like 3G. So it's like it will get there in the end in terms of giving you some information, but it might be a bit slow. Cool. So you make a note of those things, and then Pip, you arrive to see these people in the armory, unhooking some EVA suits, taking off the shirts and boots, putting some mag boots on, gearing up, and you look around at what's there. There are some more guns. There's some more equipment as well. You've got some like ultra high heat handheld hand welders for like cutting through heavy doors or airlocks. You've got a strap device basically that allows you to fire quick hardening foam, which is incredibly useful for should you need to seal some sort of hole or problem.
Nice.
What sort of things would you like?
I'm not sure if I was invited on this expedition because certain people seem to be leaving a certain spaceship without me. So
You're going to be anchoring us. We definitely need you. We don't want to be going out without someone on the other end of that rope. Like, very, very integral to the situation. We were just going to come find you because you were in the cargo bay, so I assumed you would have been nearby.
Sure. What do I want to do? I like the sound of a vibe shetty. That I would like.
A vibe
shopping
shetty.
through the vibes with a vibe
Yeah.
shetty.
Vibe shetty. That's a thing I want.
Sure. Okay. You can find one of those. How many vibes? What kind of vibes has it got?
It's got chill. It has got party for the bus, obviously.
Yeah.
It has also just got sort of like overwrought, I think. And I'm not sure why that setting would be useful, but I'm not here to question the manufacturing choices of the people who have equipped me with such a well-named piece of kit. So
okay, well, there's a slight. It might be that when you come to use it, we take a roll to decide whether or not the chill vibe machete is a children's toy. But that's cool. Carry on.
I think I will take
Nice.
one of the hand welders. That sounds good to me. So I'm wondering, did either
You
of
got
you
one more
two-
thing. One more thing, I think.
Yeah, Juice, did either of you two take, like, first aid kit or something? Or, like, any form of...
First aid is for
useful-
cowards.
That's a reasonable point, and I'm not hearing any dissension, so I'll take the foam thing. The foam thrower.
Right.
Instead.
So you're not going to have fear of missing out on foam. All right.
God.
Just end me, all right? Just end me. Just put me in an airlock. Okay, right. You have got yourself fairly geared up. You're kind of at the point whereby you can't really be lugging around any more than what you've got. If anything, actually, Juice, you've got a little bit more than is comfortable. You're trying to remind yourself of the fact that you're going to be in space and there's not really any gravity in space. And this ship looks like it's not going to have any gravity in it anymore. So what is weight? Baby, don't hurt me no more. However, you are also a bit clunky. The fact of the matter is, sure, you can carry loads of things in space because space, but also when you turn around and stuff, you kind of, EVA suits are not really designed for the kind of physical gravity grounding that this equipment would usually have. If you were kind of gearing up with combat stuff, you'd have things that would literally clip magnetically or otherwise to your suits, which would allow full movement without having to worry about it. As it is, if you turn around, there's a good chance you're going to be doing like a hula hoop with an assault shotgun for a minute or so. But that's
sounds
fine.
absolutely fantastic.
Great stuff. And I'm just going to, even though Eva's not here, I'm just going to presume that you're then going to move towards the airlock.
Yes.
Okay. So the one thing which you realise, Pip, as somebody who has knowledge of piloting particularly, you realise that let me start that again. You all realise, quite obviously, that if you leave the ship to go through space to another ship, if the ship you're on doesn't stay where it is, you're not going to be able to get back on the ship.
Let's go and get Herb in a box.
Headlock? Why
Herb in a
don't...
box.
Why
Just
don't... Actually,
trap
do you know what?
Herb.
Why don't you two do this space spelunking? And I can try to keep this part of the operation in place because I'm the one with the piloting skills. So maybe if I foam Herb,
E.T.
then...
Foam Herb, yes. Foam Herb. And then...
Well, the thing is, you know that you don't need to be on the ship, right? It's just that you need the ship to stop moving, and then it's easy enough, especially with the equipment you've got. It will be easy enough to just bring the ship to a relative, well, not bring the ship to a stay still, but just to match the velocity of this thing. Then you could just leave the outer airlock open, and it would be very easy for you to all go over there. It's just a case of the fact that currently the ship is moving, and currently Herb doesn't seem too keen on the idea of recognizing that there's even anything in space. And it's the question of whether or not he will actually stop the ship if you leave.
That's why
But
we
I don't
foam
know.
him.
Yeah, my concern is that Herb will override something while we're gone. So we take Herb with us.
Yes.
Seal him in a suit. Bring him along. So I think when Oxy gets back, we team up, we hold Herb down, we get Herb in an EVA suit, we foam it shut, and we bring Herb with us because that way, like, androids have self-preservation. I'm not demonstrating that very well, but we do.
Do you know that if you freeze herbs, they last longer?
Oh my god!
Don't make me leave.
Anyway,
The second time.
so yeah, I feel like that's our sensible thing because Herb won't want to leave because otherwise he'll get lost. Also,
We've got to kidnap Herb.
Yeah.
Ava, let's just fill you in
What's
real
happened?
quick.
This things have escalated. We had a plan.
The plan was we were just going to leave, but then we kind of forgot about the fact that the ship we were leaving would probably just gently move away while we were busy space spelunking.
No, but that's why we got the rope. We tie ourselves to it.
That won't cut it. This isn't a ship. If this was a ship scale rigging gun, then you would be attached. I mean, as it is, if you keep moving at this very gentle pace, then yes, you will maintain that attachment. But all it will take is the ship to just move slightly faster, and it's not going to cut it.
So the plan is now that we're going to... Now, this might sound a little bit silly, but I promise you, we've thought out every possibility here.
Oh god, it sounds silly to you, Juice.
And the and the plan is we're going to get...
Like you might... Yeah.
We're going to get Herb. We're going to take Herb and put Herb in a spacesuit, which we're then going to seal shut with a foam grenade. Was it a foam grenade or was it a foam launcher? It was foam. Some kind of foam.
Foam sealant.
Foam sealant. So we've kind of got Herb in a spacesuit sarcophagus that we're going to take with us onto the wreck so that Herb doesn't move the ship away while we're
Yeah.
busy. It's for his own
mean,
good. You know?
Can we not pilot? We don't. Can we? No, we can't. Can we?
Well,
I mean,
Do we not have piloting skills between us? Do we
I
have a thing
suggested
here?
this, and
And
there
it
was
didn't go
definitely a
down.
reason why it ended up not being the priority. And I now can't.
I can't remember
Well,
either.
it's more that piloting isn't really the problem. It's more that you have to make sure that you don't need to pilot the ship while you're doing it. You just need to like have it hold in position. It's more the fact that currently the ship is moving. You need the ship to not be moving anymore, and also while you're away, you need the ship to not start moving, which usually on a ship wouldn't be a problem because who would do
Right.
that?
Mm.
But you've got an android that
Basically,
maybe
we
it'll be
need,
fine.
I do
We
feel
need
like
her to not override whatever we do.
Hit with
Well-
crowbar.
But also, do we not just need to keep the same distance between? Oh no, that's not how things work, is it? There's no mass.
So-
Nothing's got any weight here, right?
At this point,
Zero
you
G
have you'd already started making your way because this is quite a stressful situation. You'd already started making your way down the corridors where you started realizing this of being like, "Ugh, we can't all just leave.
Can we call her boat?
So yeah, while you're having this conversation furtively in your full EVA suits, geared up with guns and equipment, you
Clunk,
spot
clunk.
backlit from the harsh cold lights of the galley. You spot Herb standing there with a pot and a mug of tea, with the steam very gently giving a nice edge to his silhouette at the edge of the corridor, saying, "Are you going on adventures?"
Yes.
Yes.
Do you want to come with?
Absolutely.
Does-
Yeah.
But there
Got
aren't
enough-
any adventures to be had here.
But you said that we were on an adventure,
Yeah.
so presumably this is
Inconsistent.
part of the adventure. We've seen a thing. We're gonna deal with it. It's cool.
He says,
Come with.
You wish me to find you an adventure? Certainly. Herb then turns around, walks towards the table, puts down the pot and the tea,
hit
goes
him
over
with
to
a
his
crowbar.
computer. You want to hit him with a crowbar? All right.
Yeah.
So, right.
As the
How
crew
are you going to do
slowly
this? At the
descends
moment,
in favour of violence.
you are about 10 to 12 feet away from Herb. How
Throw
are you
the crowbar.
approaching this?
Throw the crowbar.
Okay, yeah. Any input, Oxy? I feel like you'd both be like either cheerleading or head in hand.
I definitely think that no. I mean, just do it. Just do it. I don't
Yeah.
think I have.
I mean, you've
time
done
to
it. You've
persuade
said it.
otherwise.
You've done it. This is like a court of law. Like,
Yeah,
you
great.
said it. You've
Done
done it. All right.
Chucked it.
I'm going to need you to make me a combat roll.
Yes! Can I use zero gravity to my advantage?
I mean, do you have a zero gravity knowledge at this point?
Yes, I do.
Sure, I'll give you that. You're going to be slightly better at throwing a crowbar through zero gravity. And then also, you're an android, so I like to think that you could do this.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
So you can give yourself. Yeah.
I have 54 as my thing.
I'm going to give you advantage for this roll, so you get to roll twice and take the best option.
I got 19 for the first one,
Wow.
Whoops.
Okay.
and 67 for the second one. So I will be taking 19. Thank you.
Okay.
It's not too late
Before
to
we
miss.
do this, I want to ask you what kind of. What are you aiming to do with this?
Whack him.
Android to android here. Android to android. What's the intent? Because you rolled well, Pip. You can do whatever you want. I just want to know what you want to do.
No, I didn't think this far ahead.
In fact, you know what? I'm gonna use a technique here that I learned from Quinn's when he used to DM brilliantly. You've rolled well enough. You can describe what happens now.
Okay, so get my crowbar out. I do a little bit of a. I mean, there's no point. It's all quite fast, and I just absolutely throw it overarm, straight line, right at the back of Herb's head. The intention being that I have had about enough of his obfuscation and obstructive demeanour, and I want to have the adventure that we want to have, actually. So I just sort of don't. This is basically a sort of cutting through the negotiation element.
Just
I would
androids
say.
doing it for themselves. I can appreciate that.
Yeah. So and just like this feels like it would. If there's any incapacitating that happens, then that's good because we can just stay in the right velocity to explore the other thing. Yeah, I feel like that's where I was at with all of that.
No, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. Okay, 1 second.
I mean, it's kind of really a question of whether it's the spiky end or the... like, because crowbars are proper vicious if you're talking about the little L. But if it's the other way around, it's just a little light corner wound, right?
Yeah.
A tap on the head, like the back of the head
Just
with a piece of metal. Just a little tap. Just a little tap. What could be more fun and natural? I like Pip trying to get a way around this. It's just, but like, really, like when I asked you like what your intention was here, like you had me after back of the head. Like, it's like that's all you needed to say, right? Back of the head. Okay.
Feel like I might be a monster.
No, it's fine. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, so I might be a monster.
Yeah. Fair enough. Oh no.
I'm sorry I took your joy of
Yeah, you know it's bad news when you're following, advice or kind of like advice that's been planted in the brains of fellow space crew over the course of many hours of being around Juice Springsteen. You've come to accept the violence as part of yourself, and I apologize for that.
It's ambient.
Yeah, there's an ambient nefarious energy that radiates off Juice Springsteen.
Got any of those pills left?
Yeah. Just as you throw, I just throw one that lands perfectly in the food dispenser outlet of
the ampule.
Yes.
Covering
You go,
your
wow,
entire
these do
body
nothing.
in male enhancement juice.
These are just chalk. What are you doing?
So,
Sorry, Matt.
no, not at all. Not at all. Honestly, having moments to think are just absolutely blissful. You hit her squarely in the back of the head with the crowbar, which flies with barely any rotation, as was your intention, to just crack him right in the back of what would be a human skull, but actually, of course, it's just an android head.
That means I don't feel bad. It's fine.
As we've dealt with earlier, though, it's still got a lot of important stuff in it, and the neck, as they say, is the gateway to the heart.
Oh no.
So,
Oh no.
in fact,
that?
I just did. I just said it,
Cardio
Ava.
surgeons, maybe.
I just said it.
That old space proverb, the neck is the way to the heart.
You've got your new patch for your
A way to a man's heart is through his ribcage, as my mother always said. Okay. She did. I'm not even joking about that. So, yeah. He doesn't even get to the table with the pot of tea and the mug. He gets cracked in the back of the skull and just drops both these things immediately. Well, he would drop them, but there's still no gravity. And so he
It's
just
such a good mental image.
basically like
Nice.
lets go of them, but in a way which leaves them just gently spinning, the hot liquids now just sort of swirling and spilling around through space. If he was a human now, his hands would be burning as well from hot tea. As it is, though, he just lurches forward ever so slightly rather than falling to his knees. He just becomes kind of like limp and like starts drifting forwards. Although, as this is happening, I've just realised Morrigan asking on Twitch, are you just using open top mugs and 0G? Well, there wasn't 0G before, and I forgot to mention it earlier, but you have to use a mental image retroactively that when they were all drinking tea with Herb, they were doing it really carefully because there was no gravity and it was really weird. So just remember that, and then we'll carry on, and everything's fine. And in fact, if I thought about it, Pip, as Andrew knows, Matt Lees probably could have reached the grate because there's no gravity. But anyway, we're just going to have to move on and forget that because honestly, this stuff is quite tricky. Anyway, for a moment or two, Herb's lifeless robotic bod gently drifts forward through a slight cloud of hot tea. Before bashing gently into the corner of the table and rotating around. As this happens, you see their neck kind of lurch up slightly and like looking around a bit, and their limbs starting to come back and finding a footing again. It's really weird, this lack of gravity. It's not exactly zero gravity. It's more that things aren't falling. Anyway, what are you gonna do?
Wait, so Herb.
Okay, Herb is now reanimating and is basically looking at you, picks up the teapot from nearby and motions to throw it. What are you going to do?
Ooh, I
Shoot the teapot with the
don't have
rigging
a
gun.
crowbar
Yeah,
anymore.
shotgun. Out.
Okay.
And then the
teapot
American
has been
flag
thrown.
flashes across
The teapot has been thrown. And I don't know if it's just because of Skype lag, but people didn't answer quickly enough. It's probably Skype lag, which is not fair. But you know what? Space isn't fair. So because of that, Herb is throwing a hot pot of tea at you.
Why
Don't
did it have to
laugh.
come to this?
Tom, don't laugh. This tea is real hot, right? The thing you have to bear in mind is that Herb is an American robot, which means he doesn't quite understand how to make tea, and the water being used is way too hot to begin with. So it's already it's still on the verge of boiling, even though it's been brewing for like a minute or two, all right?
Are we not in EVA suits?
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
And this tea is so hot it can burn through the EVA suit. Such as
I never
how
said
Herb
that.
has made it.
I never said that, Juice. I forgot you were in suits for a second, all right? Just bear with me. It's been a long week.
It's
All right.
making everything very, very clumsy, presumably.
That's true.
So, okay. So, I'm going to need you now that the pot is being hurled towards you, but at the same time you're going to shoot. So I'm going to say that the artist currently known as the android Matt Lees doesn't get to react this round because they've already done something, and I'm going to ask you to make a speed check. I'm going to ask both of you to make a speed check to see who acts first.
Okay. I got 25, which is below my speed of 29, so I pass speed check.
And I got 31, which is also below my speed.
Okay.
We're so badass.
Juice, you go first out of the two of you. What are you going to do?
There's tea how much is the tea going to be a threat, really? Because we're in the EVA suits.
I mean,
so
you have to bear in mind, this is all happening at exactly the same time.
Yeah.
All you know is you've just hit an android in the back of the head with well, not you, but you collectively have just hit an android in the back of the head with the crowbar. It is now turning around and retaliating with force. What are you going to do?
I shoot Herb with my big shotgun.
I mean, you know what they say? Everything looks like a nail when you're holding a hammer.
Yeah, exactly.
I was holding
So-
a crowbar.
And yet somehow everything looked like a nail. Or
Okay,
everything looked like
so-
a crow? I don't know. Weird fact, carrying a crowbar.
When you're in an
everything looks
aviary,
like a crow.
everything looks like a crow. You know that phrase? I'm just gonna go off piece for a brief second here. That phrase I heard for the first time after somebody I used to work in an office with, a very lovely, huge Australian man, got carried away. Someone had bought loads of muffins and they put them into a big pyramid to be shared with everyone in the office. And they had got some whipped squirty cream and they had covered them in squirty cream, which then proceeded to melt onto the muffins, making it look like, and I'm apologising in advance for the slightly adult reference, but it looked like a it was horrible. And his response was, well, you know, when you're holding a hammer, everything looks like a nail, which I just loved. As a response to squirty cream in a can. I can't help it.
I'm just going to cover something.
I've got to cover everything in squirty cream. And that's really, really, really stuck with me. Anyway, I apologise for that adult reference, but again, this is kind of a slightly adult series because of horror and stuff, so we should probably put a symbol at the start of it. Anyway, right. Right. So I'm going to ask you to make me a Yeah, we get the squirty cream. You didn't pick that up, unfortunately. I mean, I hate to be that kind of GM, but you should have said if you want the squirty cream from the armory. Okay. Now you are at medium range here, which means you're going to do half damage. So what I want you to do is I want you to roll me 2d10 and half it.
Okay. 7.
Okay, actually, I've remembered you haven't actually rolled a combat roll yet. I'm not very good at DM. It's a hot day. Roll me a combat roll first.
Okay. This sounds absolutely unbelievable. You know what? Don't worry, I'll take a new roll. Because I preemptively rolled and I got 0, and I was like, hell yeah. But then I thought, I've already rolled 0 like twice already, so it just seems crazy.
No, that's fine. That's fine. All right, you've made a critical success of your hit, and how much damage did you roll? What was the second roll?
7.
7.
Total.
Rolling a pure 0 is pretty crazy. All right, 7. So you do 7 damage. We're going to say it's a crit, which we're going to say 14 damage. And I'm just going to roll armor. One sec. Okay. Herb has not done that well. Okay. Without thinking, your military training kicks in, and you immediately swing around the combat shotgun. You're a Marine.
Exactly. Yeah, apparently is.
You're a Marine, Tom. You're a Marine, Tom. Or so you think. So your military training kicks in. I don't even know if that did do reverb or not, but anyway, whatever. Technology.
It's kind of like
How
visual
does it work?
reverb every time you go into the thing. We know.
Imagine the reverb.
And this might not even be making a noise.
There's no reverb.
Everything sounds so flat, and it's not. Apparently, it's not. So that's fun. So. No reverb, sadly. Any noise? Any noise?
I think you make your voice different enough whenever you talk.
Any reverb here? Is that a thing?
Sort of has an effect.
Is that reverbing? We've got to wait a minute. I know it's been a long day, but we've got to wait a minute. Hopefully, this is reverbing. We'll see what happens. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. See if it's reverbing. We'll carry on with the RPG. Just want to wait a minute.
I want it on record that I didn't intend any of this.
You throw
Which
one
might
crowbar,
sound odd.
and suddenly People have got the guns out.
Look, I just wanted to be able to pick our own adventure.
Yeah, I know.
I just think that we've only got one person who knows how to use hyperjump on this ship.
I've got piloting.
Is piloting the same thing?
It could
No.
be. I could
Also, do
combine
we-
it with my 0G.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, guys. Super important, but I'm just going to have to temporarily put the stream on hold until I can work out why there's no reverb. I know this
That's
is
cool. That's
This
fine.
is pretty on brand. Just
I know this is
crowbar sailing through space, teapot, gunfire,
Okay.
all in like super slow motion.
I'm imagining it's happening really slowly and like music from like the ink spots is playing, right? It's like I don't want to set the world as it like sails through the air.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
Then, mate, so I need to make a sanity
What-
check for knowing where
Tom.
the ink spots are.
Yeah,
Sorry.
probably, but we won't do that. Tom, what was the feed
Okay.
line? What was the feed line? What were we talking about earlier? We need to go back in time about
Oh,
5
okay,
minutes.
okay.
What did
So
I
this
say
is-
that
this
was
is-
cool?
This is for the edit. So when I'm sat in the edit, I can be like, we can forget about the 5 minutes we spent waiting
Exactly.
for reverb. Just skip straight to
Well,
it.
I mean, we're almost
Uh,
definitely going to leave all of this in, aren't we? But I mean, just let me know what it is.
I said, you said your marine training kicks in, and I said, what marine training? And then you said, you're a
I know
marine.
what combat training?
What
and
combat
then he said,
training?
yeah, it was what combat training,
Yeah.
and then Matt said, "You're a marine, Tom."
Oh yeah, I said you're a marine, Tom. Or so you think.
I want nothing more than for that not to reverb, and that's not.
It
Like, that sounds like a
probably
horrible
won't,
thing.
yeah. No, I get that as well. I'm kind of in the same boat, but I think it did work that time.
It did. It looks like it did work.
Which means we can carry on with our incredible space adventures. So, what are we doing? What's going on? Are we in space? Who am I?
Help!
There's a lot of things in the air.
Yeah, yes, and the shotgun pellets go through the tea
Right,
that's
yeah.
in the air.
Yeah,
I
Tom
remember
did
now,
Tom
you
did a
just
beautiful
shot a man.
shooting.
So,
Mandroid.
you're
Way.
an android. It's true. It's true. So
No offense.
you fire the shotgun. A single blast as the training that you had reverberates through your mind like a fun song you haven't heard for a long time. You feel the party moods as you pull the trigger, taking you back to those heady days in the sun with everyone else having a fun time learning how to be a marine on a planet where the sun shone every day and you lived on the beach and everything was radical and cool and everyone thought you were the coolest marine in the world.
Just like I remember it in reality.
Just like you remember it. Or so you think. Anyway, you shoot Herb in the head. And
how delightful.
And you've kind of obviously held this this thing before, because like you know what you're doing. You kind of calculate for the spread in a way, and you know from instinct that actually this model always tends to spread a little more to the right. And you just catch Herb with like about 30% of the shells, the shrapnel bits. Guns, whatever. It's yeah, like I see people earlier in the chat being like, as UK people, it's quite exciting when people get geared up, and it's like, yeah, it's because we don't really have guns because we're sensible. So anyway, you do that, and poor Herb, head's all messed up, and he as an android, he's just sort of like, he's made of metal and goop. And he just sort of like side of his head just gets mangled by it. As this happens, like the a split second later, the teapot which he threw across the room just sort of smashes into the corridor nearby.
Oh,
It didn't really come anywhere near any of you. It just sort of like it was just a last ditch attempt at defense. And yeah. the android just immediately is just completely gone, as some of the gloop from within
Completely
their head
overreact.
unit, the same gloop actually that Herb was caringly looking for at the edges of your head and neck, android Matt Lees, just an hour ago, trying to help you repair your systems, now leaks freely into the room. Also, some of the shells behind that, the shells on the left-hand side, which you weren't as interested in prioritizing on a very instinctual level, have of course gone behind and hit the window of the spaceship, which was behind Herb.
Quite bad. It's a good time.
I think that's a good time to wrap up for today. I think that's a good time to wrap up. It's getting on a bit. I've kept you all for a while, so I think we can find out what happens next time on Mothership in space. No one can hear you. Shut up.
I feel guilty that Herb is dead, but I won't say that I'm also not quite relieved at the same time.
I think that you behaved very irresponsibly in that.
Look.
Juice behaved irresponsibly. I shot a rigging gun at a teapot. Thankfully,
did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong until you threw a crowbar at his head, okay? And that seemed like a bit of a call to action.
In a conversation ending way.
It was punctuation, and so was mine. Yours was a full stop, mine was an exclamation mark, right? It doesn't matter. It's all fine. Oh dear.
Well,
But wasn't that a jolly time? It wasn't dark at all. It's all okay.
We've made progress. I feel like we've
Yeah.
made progress.
You've taken control of your own adventure destiny, and I'm very proud of all of you. And we'll see what happens next time. Thank you so much to everyone who's been watching along with this for the second part live on Twitch. If people want to watch the next one, it's going to be in a couple of weeks. There'll be a link in the description of this when it's on YouTube to let you know where and when you can watch along live if you want to. Otherwise, you can just catch the rest of it on YouTube as well. That is fine. And thank you so much to our three space adventurers, Ava Foxfort, Tom Brewster, and Philippa War. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope you guys will continue to enjoy this and not find it harrowing and too stressful.
GMing, Matt, as well. That's been really
Yes, thank you very much.
Oh, I've had a lot of fun. I've had a pleasurable time making space maps. I've made loads more maps in this as well. I've got space maps coming out the wazoo. Honestly, we could do this for a while as far as I'm concerned. So hopefully people have been enjoying watching it, and we'll continue next time. That is it for this time. We will see you in a couple of weeks for another episode of Mothership. In space, no one can hear you. Shut up. Which may or may not get darker or less anything else. So, in terms of other stream stuff, have you guys got your things down? Oh, it's all right. We'll be able to look at the video on demand, recording video. How does it work? So, I'm actually, it's a bit out of the blue, but I haven't updated the schedule for what's going to be happening on the stream next week. And I kind of decided about an hour ago when I went to get a glass of water that actually next week we might not do any streams. I might actually just take a few days off because I'm kind of burning out and I've been working full pelt for about a year, and maybe like a few days without stuff to do might be a really good idea. So we're going to do that. But then in a few weeks, we're going to come back with some really fun stuff. What kind of really fun stuff? Well, that's a great question. Well, we got more of this for starters.
Play by post.
We've got play by post crocodile. We're going to do some print and play stuff, which is in the hopper. Also, I got sent this. I don't know if I can tell you what it is just yet, but I got this in the post. What's this? It's loads of drugs. That's not it. It's shut up and sit down. This got sent to us by one of the largest publishers in the world, and it's in a plastic sandwich bag with SU&SD written on it in a Sharpie, which is something I like about this industry, Frankie. Even though you're like the biggest dog in the world, like, you're never going to get that from Activision. You know what I mean? So, so this is a jigsaw puzzle. There are only a small handful of them in the world, and it's partially, I think, to tie in with some sort of marketing campaign for a big game. But I don't care, because they've sent me a jigsaw puzzle, and I'm going to do a stream of me doing a jigsaw puzzle. Because that is apparently the one way to break through my anti-marketing barriers. There are more of these in the world.
Jigsaw puzzles now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, fine. Okay, I think it's going to be a puzzle that has puzzles within it, so definitely keep an eye out for that. That could be fun. There may be other people in the world who get sent a jigsaw who are doing things with it and encouraging you to play along. Don't do that, because you have to watch jigsaw puzzles. Yeah.
If you want to avoid the marketing element, do it upside down for an extra challenge.
I've also realised that actually this jigsaw puzzle, you can just sort of see the silhouette of it, comes with a small piece shaped like a pear in the jigsaw puzzle, which I don't know is part of it, but that's very cute. Anyway, I'm looking forward to that. So we're going to do some more fun stuff, and I have promised as well I will do an afternoon of just cooking and stuff like that in my kitchen with cameras. But for now, I need to take a few days off because life, etc.
Yeah. Good plan.
Anyway,
Allowed. Permitted.
has anyone else got anything they would like to say or promote or exclaim? Basically, whatever you like.
I didn't think of links or anything, but I think you've had a fair few on the channel just for donating to Black Lives Matter related causes.
Of course.
Especially trans-related stuff as well, and just anything that could really do with a signal boost at this point in time and make people's lives less shitty and difficult, I think.
Yeah. No, absolutely. We are like... as I've mentioned a few times, like, all of the money this month is going to be going to charities. We've already pinned down one of them. The other one we haven't entirely pinned down. So actually, that's a really good point, Pip. We might be thinking about that. If you've enjoyed this stuff and you're able to do us a solid by giving a little money to charity. And there's been some suggestions and stuff in the chat. And yeah, just know that if you have done already, then all of the money that we get on Twitch this month is going to be going to charities. Yeah. Everyone's having a bad time. I'm having a bad time this week, but that's because it's a really stressful time in the world, and I am just an extremely white middle-class dude. And if it's affecting me this much, then it's affecting a lot of other people a lot worse. So just be kind to people, and if you can, be kind via the medium of actual money and support and having complicated conversations with family and friends. Yeah.
This has been a real tonic, though, and thank you to everybody who watched and for the three of you for making it a really fun time.
Good. I hope it continues to be a tonic. My only fear with this is that by trying to create an interesting yet slightly oppressive atmosphere, it becomes something which you just don't need right now. If it does, you just got to let me know straight away. And you know what? We'll just freeze it and be like, you know what? We'll come back to this later. Let's play something incredibly light. Like, we'll do what we want, but just
there's a limit
to
to how like oppressive and horrible this can feel when something that can happen is shooting boiling hot tea out of the air with a rigging gun. So don't worry, it's fine.
Yeah,
that is true. Yeah. That is very true.
It will confound your attempts to make us be sensible.
You might want it to be dark and serious, and for us all to go away, deeply depressed.
No.
We refuse.
We refuse. We're going to be silly. This is Juice and the gang.
This is Juice and the gang.
And on
that note, we will see you next time. So we'll see you on not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday afterwards, and we will have a fun old time. And we'll see you soon. Have a good week. Bye. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you again. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
See you.